The story kicks off with a boss introducing the company's new intern, Shu. He uses the opportunity to motivate the folks, saying the project is about to launch and there will be bonuses for everyone. Sitting at his desk, our protagonist is full of dreams. Fresh out of college, he believes that hard work pays off and that he'll soon get rich programming for the company. But just 1 week later, reality hits hard. He's now working late into the night, looking more like a machine than a person. With eyes red from exhaustion, he stares at the lines of code until he finally collapses onto the keyboard, the weight of reality and despair convincing him that all his effort won't lift him out of poverty. Completely drained of energy, he throws himself back in his chair, only able to think about how great it would be if the world just ended right then and there. He doesn't even see the point in sleeping, knowing he'll just be exploited again tomorrow. He simply wishes for the world to be destroyed by aliens so his suffering can end. Suddenly, a strange noise echoes and our beloved system appears, announcing that the perfect life system has been activated. With that, he opens his eyes, completely confused, and wonders what that sound he just heard was. Before him was a complete status window, showing his name, his attributes, and welcoming him to the perfect life system. Shu is left baffled by what's happening, but he quickly gets excited, realizing he's gotten the system. He tells Overtime and his boss to get lost. Thrilled, he throws everything in the air, celebrating that he'll never have to work again. But at that exact moment, an explosion happens outside, and looking out the window, he realizes the gas pipeline has exploded. The explosion has turned the street into complete chaos, and there were zombies everywhere. These zombies were attacking people and destroying everything in their path. Our protagonist watches it all, not understanding a thing. He then closes the curtain to hide. Desperate, he turns to the system and asks what its name was again, because this didn't look anything like a perfect life. The floating screen confirms it is indeed the perfect life system, but Shu points to the window, saying it looks more like the end of the world. Despite the mess, he tries to stay calm, and then a woman slams hard against the door. The noise makes him turn to see what's happening, and our beautiful zombie was banging relentlessly on the glass door. Shu then realizes she looked familiar. He remembers seeing this same woman earlier in the elevator and even thought she was pretty. But now, her appearance has completely changed, and she is transformed into a terrifying creature. Seeing the woman's current state, he tells himself to forget what he had thought about her being pretty. Immediately, the system gives him a new mission: flirt with the young woman to have a perfect date, which leaves our protagonist speechless. Shu then starts looking for anything useful in the office, grabbing some supplies and a jug of water. He then sits down and concludes that just standing around is pointless. Since he has a mission to do, he decides to face the challenge to understand how the system works. So, our protagonist goes to the door and unlocks it. As soon as he opens the door, the zombie falls over, and while she tries to get up, Shu approaches her, introduces himself, and asks if they can be friends. Seeing that the woman doesn't respond, he gets a bit embarrassed and says he'll take her silence as a yes. Right after that, the protagonist runs back inside and quickly closes the door, leaving the zombie completely bewildered. The creature sits on the floor, trying to process what had just happened, but soon after, she goes back to acting like a zombie again, and starts banging her head against the glass door. Shu then wonders if that already counts as starting a conversation. Suddenly, the system criticizes him for his terrible attempt at flirting, which surprises him as he learns that tasks have ratings. Despite the bad grade, he gets 1 attribute point and 10 more favorability points with the zombie, and he finds out her name is Chi Wei. He initially thinks the reward is useless, but then considers that maybe with high favorability, she'll stop trying to attack him. The system explains that as favorability increases, the target will feel a desire to get closer and will obey his words as if they were a couple. The protagonist is confused by that last part and wonders if he can now control zombies or if he just got himself a zombie girlfriend. Frustrated by the lack of information, our protagonist complains that the system doesn't even have a tutorial to help him. So, he decides he'll figure it all out on his own and orders the system to add the attribute point to strength. With his decision made, he feels a new sensation coursing through his body. The system screen confirms that the point was added successfully and his strength value is now 11. A blue aura surrounds him, and he feels much stronger, declaring that he's ready for the apocalypse. In a post-apocalyptic world, all attributes like spirit, constitution, and agility are important for survival. But for our protagonist right now, nothing is more crucial than brute force. After adding the point to strength, he feels an indescribable power flowing through him. He gathers the few supplies he found in the office and realizes that without outside help, the food will soon run out. At that moment, a new task is activated by the system. He needs to clock in for work in 17 minutes. The system continues, explaining that whoever clocks in on time will be blessed by the goddess of luck and have good fortune. The task reward is 5 attribute points and a chance to be noticed by his boss. However, he realizes the time clock is outside, and to complete the mission, he needs to get past the zombie Chiwei. He watches Chiwei from the other side of the door and notices that her hunger for him seems to have increased. At that instant, the system screen displays his 2 current tasks, clock in and flirt with the young woman. Then, a note informs him that the flirting mission can be re-evaluated if his performance drastically improves. With this new information, the protagonist has the brilliant idea that he can complete both tasks at the same time. He thinks that the most dangerous thing about zombies is the infection, and that as long as he doesn't get scratched, he'll be fine. Faced with the situation, he grabs a pair of scissors and starts preparing for the mission. Using paper and tape, he improvises armor and a spear, saying that since it's the perfect life system, it wouldn't give him an impossible task. Fully equipped, our protagonist opens the office door. As soon as he steps out, he finds a hallway crowded with zombies who turn to face him. Without hesitation, he advances towards Kiwei and declares his feelings, asking her to go out with him. He continues, saying he doesn't have a car or a house, but promises to work hard and invites her to dinner on Thursday. While dodging attacks, our hero thinks that using cheesy pickup lines might earn him extra points. But to his surprise, the system calls him a loser for being rude and talking too much, resulting in the loss of 10 favorability points with Chiwei. The zombie then seems to snap out of her irrational state and glares at him with an expression of contempt. Seeing the woman's unexpected reaction, the protagonist gets completely embarrassed and starts to sweat. Hiding in a nearby room, 2 men watch the scene and one of them asks if the voice they heard belongs to Mengshu. The other man wonders what he's doing confessing to Chiwei, since she had been caught by the manager. Shocked by the situation, one of the men says Mengshu has completely lost it and that he always thought he was a bit weird. However, the strangest thing for them is the fact that Chiwei isn't attacking our protagonist. Seeing the opportunity, the manager decides to call Mengshu over and asks the other man to make some noise to attract attention. After clocking in, our hero turns to go back to the office. As he passes the door, he notices there are also zombies in the other offices and laments that everyone has turned into workhorses. The system then notifies him that the task was completed successfully, 3 minutes ahead of schedule, and that his rating is normal person. He receives 5 points and a notice that his boss will notice him more, but Mengshu doesn't care since the world is ending. With the points, he opens the system store and sees he can buy money, cookies, or energy drinks. He finds the items useless and wonders who would spend 5,000 points on cash in the middle of the apocalypse. Mengshu concludes that although Chiwei isn't attacking him, there are still many other zombies in the building, and he decides to return to the office to plan his next move. As he prepares to head back, he hears someone calling his name. The manager appears at a nearby door and asks Mengshu to get Chiwei away from there. The protagonist recognizes him as Manager Zhang and questions his change of attitude and what he's doing in the office next door. Our protagonist decides to see what the problem is and approaches to help. Since in an apocalypse, more people mean more strength. The manager, with a smile on his face, opens the door for Mengshu to enter. But as soon as our protagonist gets close, the manager slams the door in his face. He thanks him for the distraction and promises a promotion after the crisis passes, leaving Mengshu locked outside with the zombies. But to their surprise, Chiwei doesn't attack our protagonist. Mengshu scoffs at the manager, saying he's a real jokester. At that moment, the system congratulates him for getting the boss's attention and reminds him of the #1 rule of work: never go against your boss. The protagonist then wishes the manager a good morning and suggests they go back to work in their own office. The manager refuses the suggestion and tells him to fend for himself, leaving the 2 men terrified. The 2 wonder if Mengshu has really gone insane. Desperate, they try to lock the door and push furniture to block it. The manager rushes the other man, yelling at him to push faster. But Mengshu kicks the door down with a single kick, sending the manager to the floor. With a sinister smile, our protagonist wishes his co-workers a good morning. He says he's heading to work and bids them farewell. The 2 men are left completely baffled as Mengshu walks away. After leaving the office, Mengshu is followed by Chiwei, who advances towards him. She then spots the other men who were in the room and leaps towards them. And after she enters the room, the protagonist watches them scream for help and then closes the door and locks them inside with the zombie. The system praises him for his attitude and completes the task with a perfect rating. He receives a letter of recommendation and 5 more professional experience points, but loses favorability with his leader and colleagues. A secret achievement is unlocked, called Gen Z Reforming the Workplace. The achievement reward is 5,000 in cash, and the system suggests he use it to treat his colleagues to a barbecue. Mangshu finds it ironic to receive money in the middle of the apocalypse but saves it, thinking it might be useful later. He then opens his email and finds the letter of recommendation he earned. The letter allows him to choose a new profession, which gets him excited about the possibility of becoming a warrior or a mage. Thrilled with the opportunity, he accepts without hesitation and confirms the use of the letter. To his surprise, the new profession he acquires is pamphlet distributor, which leaves him extremely disappointed. He wonders how he's supposed to hand out pamphlets in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Despite the ridiculous profession, he acknowledges that the system is incredible and questions what he'll be advertising. The system offers 3 pamphlet distribution tasks for him to choose from. The options are for a swimming academy, a law firm, and a real estate agency. He chooses the academy task because it requires less work and offers more experience. The system scolds him for choosing the easy way out, but he doesn't care and questions the usefulness of the experience. A notification informs him that for every level gained in his profession, he will earn attribute points and special skills. He reflects that, although ridiculous, the system is right about starting from the bottom. With that in mind, he believes that if he increases his attributes, he can survive the apocalypse and witness the rebuilding of civilization. The task is selected, and he receives a stack of pamphlets. The system instructs him to shout promotional slogans while distributing the pamphlets to earn extra experience. In the hallway, he encounters Chi Wei again, who glares at him with contempt. Her favorability with him drops drastically. Mangshu tries to talk to her, but with each attempt, the favorability decreases even more. The protagonist panics as he watches his favorability plummet. He laments the situation and says that if Chi Wei knew him better, she'd see he's a positive and motivated person. Trying a friendlier approach, he approaches her with a smile, but the favorability continues to fall. Suddenly, he hears screams for help, and the manager and his colleague were turning into zombies. He approaches and confronts them, saying they tried to harm him first and shouldn't have a bad impression of him. With a sinister smile, he grabs the pamphlets and starts distributing the Swimming Academy pamphlets to the 2 men. Even though they show no reaction, our boy just tosses the pamphlets, but the system scolds him for throwing the pamphlets at the customer's feet, though he defends himself by saying they dodged. He questions why the 2 tried to harm him and says he won't talk about it anymore. Mangshu declares that even in their current state, they won't be going to a better place and that he will help them find a new job. He says that for the job, they'll need legs and then rips off the legs of one of the zombies. Our hero then decides to stop messing around and announces that he's going to take the 2 of them to clean up the building. Elsewhere, a female hand slides across a phone, showing a contact list. The young woman sees news about the zombie apocalypse on her phone. Crying desperately, she wonders why the world has become like this. She begs for help and protection. Suddenly, she hears a kicking sound at the door. Terrified, she realizes the zombies are coming. She hears a voice from outside. Mangshu is offering swimming and fitness classes to the zombies. The young woman is confused by what's happening. She curls up on the floor, not understanding what a quality client is. She tries to lock the door, but it's too late. The zombies bust through the glass door while Mangshu continues his offer. She peeks through the crack in the door, frightened. Mangshu explains that his club is specially designed for white-collar zombies. He tries to convince them, saying that learning to swim will make them more competitive. Our protagonist continues his motivational speech and offers a free trial class. The young woman tries to hide behind the door. In complete shock, she tells her mom she thinks she's seeing things. She types a final message on her phone in case she doesn't make it. In it, she describes seeing a man selling gym plans to zombies. Mangshu declares that the 2 zombies are now useless to him. He calls for them to leave. With his new guide dogs, he can now explore the building more safely. He explains that this is called positioning in gaming terms. After a while, he stops to rest. Having already distributed over 200 pamphlets, he decides to take a break before continuing. Mangshu then opens the system screen. The screen shows his progress and the option to level up. With an ironic smile, he decides to level up in the promising profession of pamphlet distributor. The system confirms his success, and he advances to level 1. As a pamphlet distributor, he gains attribute bonuses to resist extreme weather conditions and have more speed. He gets excited seeing his attributes increase and discovers his new ability, Read People. The ability allows him to see a target's profession and level as long as it's not too different from his own. He relaxes in a chair, feeling great about his progress. But the sound of chaos outside reminds him of reality. Helicopters fly over the city as explosions happen everywhere. He calculates that there are enough zombies in the building to complete his task without needing to go outside. Using his new ability, he analyzes one of the zombies and sees its favorability is -100. He's disappointed that the favorability is still negative, even after taking them for a walk. He decides it's useless to talk to them and that he hasn't given them pamphlets yet. Suddenly, a light bulb appears over his head, and he has an idea. With a wicked smile, he offers a 20% discount for friends and a break your bones discount for anyone who doesn't buy. He throws the pamphlets at the zombies. One of their favorability ratings rises to -50, and it hesitates to attack. Even so, the zombie charges forward, and Mengxu attacks it with his spear. The zombie falls to the ground, defeated. Mengxu leaves a pamphlet on the defeated zombie. He notices that new zombies have appeared. Upon using his Read People ability, he notes that the new zombies don't have a favorability level. He deduces that Chi-Wei and the manager have levels and favorability because they are linked to system tasks. He turns to his zombie companions and asks if they don't find the world abnormal. He tries to slap them, but misses. Mengxu concludes that he's the normal one here and asks them not to hate him so much. He unties the ropes that were holding them. Determined, he prepares to continue distributing pamphlets. A new task appears, informing him that the lunch break is over and he needs to go to the 11th floor to negotiate with Supervisor Lin. He smiles at the prospect of a new task. The elevator door opens. Mengxu approaches the elevators. He decides to take his zombie companions with him, afraid to face the supervisor alone. He thinks it's good to have harmonious and friendly coworkers. With that, the group starts moving towards their objective. Mengxu runs through the hallway, pulling his 2 zombie companions by their makeshift leash. He motivates them by saying that working hard means having a fearless and unshakable spirit, while the creatures just roar in response. Suddenly, upon turning a corner, they encounter a horde of zombies blocking the path. With a confident smile, the protagonist yells for them to make way and orders them to advance. He then uses Chi-Wei and the manager as a vanguard to fight against the other undead. The zombie manager proves to be quite effective in combat, fiercely attacking the other creatures. However, a stronger zombie with a different appearance emerges in front of them. Mengxu wastes no time and charges at the new enemy with his spear. The fight intensifies, and the protagonist has to deal with several zombies at once. Shortly after, he lands a direct hit on a blonde zombie that was trying to attack him. With a precise move, our hero finishes off the creature, clearing another part of the way. After the intense battle, the hallway is covered with defeated zombies. Finally, the protagonist reaches his destination, the 11th floor. With a determined look, he prepares for what's to come. Upon reaching Supervisor Lin's office, the protagonist faces one last zombie, which he defeats with ease. He opens the door and finds 2 terrified people hiding inside. With a menacing air, he steps into a pool of blood and asks if Supervisor Lin is present. He introduces himself as Mengxu from Jinglin Technology and says he was sent to discuss the parking issue. With a confident smile, he questions where the supervisor is, since they had a meeting scheduled. The system congratulates him on his ferocity and informs him that he has intimidated the employees of Wanxiang International. The task is completed with a perfect rating, and he receives a large amount of money, experience, and attribute points. With the mission accomplished, he decides to take the opportunity to plunder the resources on the 11th floor. Mengxu and his zombie companions get to work. He ties a rope around his spear, and then ties up his zombie companions to ensure they don't run off. He looks at his watch and is surprised to see it's only 3 in the afternoon. He laments being so brainwashed by work that he's thinking about clocking out at the end of the world. To relax, he opens a bottle of soda and sits in a chair to gather his thoughts and plan his next steps. The protagonist analyzes the situation and concludes that the virus appeared randomly, but the loss of cell signal is very suspicious. This leads him to believe it might be a premeditated, worldwide attack, and that his priority now is to increase his combat capability. Faced with the situation, he decides to use the attribute point he gained and orders the system to add it to strength. The system confirms the addition, and his strength is now 12. He decides he'll focus on this attribute until he can defeat zombies with ease. With his decision made, he accesses the system screen to check his status. The screen shows he has enough experience points to level up in both his professions, and he notices that the Office Clerk 1 requires more points. He wonders which attribute the Office Clerk profession increases, since the Pamphlet Distributor 1 increased his agility. Without a second thought, he allocates all the points to the Office Clerk profession and confirms the choice to see what happens. The system informs him that the Office Clerk profession improves the spirit and constitution attributes, but warns him not to overwork or his spirit will decrease. Upon leveling up, he gains 2 spirit points and half a constitution point in addition to the professional skill, Kill Time. He's confused by the new skill and wonders what Kill Time means. The description explains that it's a passive ability that decreases the frequency with which his boss notices him. He finds the ability interesting and realizes it will increase his safety while collecting resources with his 2 zombie colleagues. Suddenly, a new daily task is activated, requiring him to work diligently. Our protagonist despairs upon realizing he'll have to work even at the end of the world and complains that the system is too stingy. Resigned, he turns on the computer and decides to work. He sits down and starts typing, exhausted. The system informs him that the workday is over and he receives rewards for his diligent work. Relieved, he stretches in his chair, celebrating the end of a torturous day. He then goes to the time clock and clocks out. Upon returning to his desk, he finds a pile of money and wonders what use it is. The system explains that the money can be used for gacha draws with guaranteed special prizes. Excited by the news, he decides to do the draws immediately. He chooses the option for 10 draws at once. The draw gets him instant noodles, mineral water, a suit, and a bodyguard talent. He's curious to know what the bodyguard talent is. The description informs him that upon using the item, an experienced bodyguard will appear within a 3-kilometer radius. He realizes the talent doesn't guarantee the bodyguard's loyalty. Even so, he decides to use the item, hoping to get an expert. He starts to ponder whether he should open a company to unlock new tasks. Shu savors a bowl of instant noodles. He decides that if he's going to do something, he might as well do it in style. He imagines himself as a successful boss, smoking a cigar and drinking wine. Satisfied, he burps and yawns, feeling ready for whatever comes next. Suddenly, a system notification alerts him to intruders in the building. A new task is activated to protect the company's property. With a wicked smile, he declares that the company is his home, and he won't let anyone steal what's his. Elsewhere, a man in a hockey mask takes care of some zombies. He complains that a woman named Huang Jai attracted all the zombies with her screams and asks his companion what they should do. The man, named John, says they should look for supplies in the building since they lost everything they had. John tells his companion to go on ahead, saying he'll cover his back. The companion is suspicious, but obeys. He draws a knife while the other goes up the stairs. The blonde guy stops suddenly upon hearing a noise. He asks why he stopped, and the blonde guy says he heard footsteps and fears they are zombies. John dismisses the possibility of them being zombies and concludes there are survivors in the building. The blonde guy agrees hesitantly and continues climbing. He peeks through a crack and is startled by what he sees. Shu surprises him from behind and greets him. The blonde guy falls backward, startled. John asks how many people are on the floor and if they have food. With an innocent smile, Shu says the company is private and that the security guards should have stopped them. He complains that he needs to file a complaint against the security company. The protagonist crosses his arms with a serious expression. He warns them that trespassing is illegal and threatens to call a lawyer. The 2 intruders are terrified and confused. John glares at him and says he doesn't know how things are out there. Tired of the conversation, Zahn advances with a baseball bat. Shu sighs and prepares to show what he's capable of. He calls his zombie companions to the fight since he can't count on security. The blonde guy yells for Jean to attack first since there are more people on the floor. Shu and the 2 intruders face off ready for a fight. The blonde guy throws a knife towards the protagonist, but Shu dodges with ease and goes on the attack. He takes down the blonde guy with a single blow. With a sinister smile, he spins the tire iron and declares himself heaven itself. Jan grabs 2 baseball bats and prepares to fight. He acknowledges Shu's skills, but isn't intimidated. He prepares to attack. The protagonist reveals that he dipped the tire iron in iodine to disinfect it while he fights. He advances with his zombie companions and says the intruder is asking for it. He finally gets the chance to say the line he's been dying to say. With a confident look, he prepares for battle. John is terrified upon seeing the zombies. Mangshu advances to attack the fallen blonde guy. The blonde guy panics and starts to sweat. He screams for his brother and flees down the stairs. Mangshu stops them, saying they can't leave and must face the legal consequences. He points at them and orders his zombie companions to attack. But the zombies don't move, and he feels awkward. He realizes the zombies are disgusted by him and don't want to get close. Jan grabs the blonde guy's arm. He stops him from running and questions him. Zan asks why the zombies aren't attacking Mangshu. The protagonist starts to slowly climb the stairs. The two intruders watch as Mangshu and his zombie companions approach. He reveals that he's the company's public safety activist. The blonde guy asks what they should do, and John tells him to attack the zombies. The blonde guy refuses, afraid. Zan then suggests they jump from the third floor to escape. The blonde guy looks out the window and sees the street crowded with zombies, saying that jumping will only attract more of them, making the situation worse. With no other choice, Zan decides he won't run anymore and prepares to fight to the end. From there, he charges full speed at our protagonist, who warns him that it will be self-defense. Seeing the action, Manager Zhang moves to protect our hero while he holds onto Chiwei. The man in the hockey mask is not intimidated and lands a powerful blow on the creature's head. Despite the impact, the zombie shows no sign of pain, and the intruder is shocked by the scene. Taking advantage of the distraction, Mangshu throws his tire iron, which collides with Zhan's bat. The impact throws the intruder off balance, and he falls to the ground. Seeing the zombie approach, he accepts his fate. The creature attacks without mercy while our protagonist cleans his ear and reminds him that he warned them not to trespass. Mangshu complains that now he'll have to clean up the whole mess and mocks Zhan for still moving, even though he's weak. With a threatening look, he warns the blonde guy that if he tries to escape, Manager Zhang will come after him. The guy is completely terrified by the threat and starts to sweat profusely. Cowering in the corner, he laments that a public safety activist is using zombies to beat people up. Our hero looks at his dirty tool and concludes that maybe he went a bit too far with the self-defense. He steps on John's body, and with his companions by his side, he sarcastically says he's going to call an ambulance. The protagonist tells the blonde guy to call the police and that he'll call his defense lawyer. Mangshu then hurries him, phone in hand, asking if he's deaf. The guy terrifiedly grabs the phone and makes the call, thinking that our hero is a complete psychopath. He then starts apologizing and putting all the blame on Zhan, saying he was forced to do it. Mangshu looks at him with contempt and questions what good laws would be if apologies solved everything. So, he tells the blonde guy to get out of his sight, as he's too lazy to deal with him. With a sinister smile, our protagonist suggests he jump from the third floor, as it wouldn't be a fatal fall. Without hesitation, the guy throws himself out the window to escape the situation. He breaks the glass and falls towards the street, which is full of zombies. Mangshu turns to Zhan and comments that his injuries look pretty serious. He scoffs, saying at least now a beauty like Chiwei will take care of him. With that said, our hero says his goodbyes and leaves, letting his two companions finish the job. The office door opens, revealing the empty interior. Back to work, he grabs a few more pamphlets and decides that's enough for today. Suddenly, the system surprises him with a notification that his zombies' favorability has increased because he gave them food. Mangshu is furious when he sees the notification and wonders who told the zombies to like him, even demanding a refund for the food. He then throws the pamphlets in the air and runs off, saying he needs to go talk to Shiwei and the manager to calm them down because they absolutely cannot like him. At that moment, a new system window appears before his eyes. The screen encourages him to pursue a perfect life through entrepreneurship and activates a new long-term mission to start a business. Our hero becomes suspicious and questions if the system is spying on him, since he had just thought of that. From there, he starts imagining what it would be like to have a food stall, and thinks the idea isn't so bad. But his imagination is soon interrupted by the image of a customer sneezing on the food, and he realizes zombies wouldn't eat that. A new task appears, informing him that Supervisor Lin from the 12th floor still hasn't moved his car, and that he needs to teach him a lesson. The mission requires him to create a customer service company to defeat Wanxiang International with very generous rewards. Our protagonist is left completely speechless by the complexity of the new task. With a sly smile, he accepts the challenge and says the system has already laid out his entire plan. He then details his plan of action, which consists of fixing his companion's brains and laying off 60% of the other company's employees. Without wasting any time, he heads to the entrance of Wanxiang International, ready to begin. Accompanied by his two companions, he points forward and orders them to advance, even though their favorability is still negative. Right after, our hero leads towards a horde of zombies, ready to clear a path with his tire iron. With a swift motion, he spins his tire iron, and together with his companions, he starts laying off all the zombie employees he finds along the way. In a short time, the hallway is cleared and covered with defeated creatures, while our hero and his zombies emerge unscathed. Our hero comments that he laid off at least a dozen people in that attack. He wipes his hand on one of the zombies and decides that's enough for today, as he'll wait until he levels up to finish the job. With that, he turns and calls for everyone to leave the area. Meanwhile, in a nearby bathroom, the door is locked and there are a few empty cans on the floor. Inside, a young woman is on the floor, completely starved and weak. She sits up and complains about how long the delivery guy is taking. Already in tears, she begs for him to show up soon because she can't wait any longer. Suddenly, she hears a voice outside and gets startled. It was Meng Shu trying to sell houses to the zombies. The young woman is completely confused as he continues his speech, saying that the city's largest developer has a new offer. She covers her mouth in fright as she hears the protagonist suggest that the zombies buy a new place to live and get rid of their daily fatigue. With a trembling hand, she decides to open the door to see what's happening. Upon opening the door, she is in shock and asks if he heard her calling for him. With a tear rolling down her face, she stares at our hero, unable to believe what she's seeing. The young woman is completely paralyzed with fear as she observes the scene. Peeking through the crack, she sees our protagonist surrounded by zombies and begs for them to stop attacking the man of her dreams. She reaches her hand out of the door as if she could do something to help. The woman keeps saying he's the only one she desires, while Meng Shu dodges an attack with a smile on his face. With an agile move, our hero skewers one of the creatures with his spear. Facing the zombies, he scoffs that they're eager to see the new apartments and asks them to form a line. He then leaps over the monsters, continuing his relentless assault. The woman is on her knees on the bathroom floor, completely shocked and covered in splatters. The protagonist stands amidst the defeated bodies, and the woman watches him, thinking how terrifying he is. He wipes the sweat from his forehead, and the survivor wonders if he's even human. The hero turns his head with a serious and determined expression, ready for whatever comes next. The young woman curls up on the bathroom floor, still in shock from everything that just happened. Soon after, she hears approaching footsteps and realizes he's coming towards her. Our protagonist stops right in front of the bathroom door where the woman is hiding. With a smile on his face, he introduces himself and asks if she's interested in swimming, legal advice, or the pre-sale of a new house. The system notifies him that he is now a level 2 office clerk as he stares at the woman on the bathroom floor. With a hand on her chest, visibly relieved, the survivor asks if he's still alive. Our protagonist grins and shows her his pamphlets, celebrating that he's finally found someone alive to be his client. Shortly after, they move to a law office so they can talk more calmly. Sitting on the couch, the young woman introduces herself as Shen Zhaozhao to the supposed lawyer who is actually the zombie manager tied to a chair. She begins to explain that she needs help with a legal issue for a friend, but is startled by the lawyer's appearance. Meng Zhu then takes control of the conversation, and with his two zombie companions by his side, he glares at her menacingly. With a sinister smile, he extends his hand toward Shen Zhaozhao, who flinches in fear. The young woman panics and wonders how it's possible for that man to control zombies. The protagonist loses his patience with her silence and starts yelling, criticizing her college and demanding an answer. Desperate, Shen Zhaozhao breaks down and tells him that a friend of hers was suffering at work and ended up being attacked by her boss. With that, the system notifies Meng Shu that he has attracted a client and completed the task, leveling up his pamphlet distributor profession. Our protagonist smiles with satisfaction and praises the good work they did together. He approaches the young woman, holding his tire iron, and calmly calls her by name. Meng Shu congratulates her on her excellent performance and invites her to come back any time for more legal advice, swimming, and even to buy a new house. Crying, the woman thanks the protagonist and says he is a very kind person. With a sly smile, he interrupts her and asks if she is paid for the service yet. The young woman is completely confused by the question and doesn't understand what he means. Our hero then points to the zombie manager and explains that the consultation with the lawyer costs 200 per hour and that she must pay for the half hour she used. The zombie manager seems moved by the recognition of his work and starts to cry. Faced with our protagonist's flawless logic, the young woman agrees that he is right. Seizing the opportunity, Mangshu says he's thinking of starting a business and invites her to work with him. Shen Zhaozhao considers the proposal and concludes that although he's strange, he's strong enough to protect her. So, she bows and accepts the offer, introducing herself as his new employee. The system congratulates him on the hire but warns him that starting a company requires licenses and procedures. Then, a screen with the details of the new company appears, and he complains to the system about all the bureaucracy in the middle of the end of the world. Despite his complaint, he turns to his new employee and says they need to go to the 4th floor because starting a business is hard. Even the zombie manager nods and grunts something in agreement with his new boss. On the way, he offers a soda to Shen Zhaozhao, showing a gentler side. Back in the office, he announces that he has decided on the company name, Peace and Order, and the system successfully confirms the choice. With a smile and a thumbs up, Shen Zhaozhao praises the company name, saying it's great. Our protagonist goes to the window and feels like a winner for having his own business so soon. His new employee claps and praises him non-stop, saying he's amazing. Suddenly, a noise breaks the mood. It's her stomach, rumbling with hunger, and she gets embarrassed. The protagonist then shows her a pile of instant noodles and tells her to eat as much as she wants since it's very cheap. With her eyes sparkling, Shen Zhaozhao thanks him and says he's the best boss in the world. Without wasting any time, she begins to devour the noodles with great gusto. Each bite brings a new sensation to the young woman who hadn't eaten in days. She feels like she's on cloud 9 and wonders if this is true happiness. After eating, she relaxes on the couch with a hot drink, seeming much calmer. Mangshu then officially appoints her as the company's office clerk and tells her to print a work contract. The young woman is completely confused and wonders why on earth she would be making spreadsheets in the middle of the end of the world. With a mocking smile, he asks if she doesn't know how to use Excel, and frightened, she confirms that she knows how to use the program. He then points to the door and introduces her new co-workers, Chiwei and Zhangdao. Shen Zhaozhao is terrified to see the two zombies, but the protagonist reassures her, saying they are just the security guards. With an amused smile, Mangshu warns her to keep her distance from the security guards, because they are not friendly at all. Shen Zhaozhao is terrified and starts imagining the worst possible scenario, questioning if she's already gone, and this is all a hallucination. Our protagonist snaps her out of her thoughts and tells her to get back to work. He points to her old desk and motivates her to become the company's first manager. With a determined smile, the young woman sits down and assures him she will do her best, which leaves Mangshu satisfied with her attitude. Without wasting time, she starts working on the computer while our hero walks away, and the system confirms that the new employee is already on the job. With a confident smile, Mangshu thinks that there's hope for this new employee and that she has a lot of potential. He then announces that he needs to leave to handle the company's paperwork in various places, like the bank and the administration office. Shen Zhaozhao stares at the screen with an annoyed expression, finding it ridiculous to worry about legalizing the company in the middle of the end of the world. Our protagonist also reveals that he's going to look for a new high-level talent, and instructs her to receive him well and hide the true nature of her other two colleagues. With this, he feels confident in his plan, knowing that an experienced bodyguard is crucial for survival and the growth of his new empire. Suddenly, a system notification appears before his eyes. The screen congratulates him on successfully starting his company and rewards him with experience, an attribute point, a skill point, and 100,000 in cash. A note informs him that the money will be stored in the system and can be withdrawn, and right after, he prepares for his next task. With fire in his eyes, our hero decides to use his new attribute point immediately, and without hesitation, he adds it to strength. A golden aura explodes around him, and he feels his body become even more powerful and ready for the challenges to come. The system screen displays his current status, showing his 3 professions: office clerk, intern, pamphlet distributed, and now president. His attributes are also updated, and his strength is now 14. He flexes his bicep, proud of his new form. Our protagonist checks his pocket and sees that he now has 10 points and 162,000 in total assets. With a satisfied smile, he analyzes his professional skills, which are kill time and read people. In a moment of pure excitement, he imagines taking his new company to the top of the world, while Shen Zhaozhao stares at him, completely baffled. She takes advantage of her boss's absence to complain to her friends in an online group about the madness of starting a company in the middle of an apocalypse. The young woman is sweating and completely panicked, not knowing what to do in this bizarre situation. To make matters worse, she peeks through the door and sees her two zombie colleagues staring at her menacingly. Desperate, she goes back to the computer and starts begging for help in the online group, as the situation is very urgent. Meanwhile, our hero arrives at the parking garage and starts looking for the bodyguard he summoned with the system item. Suddenly, the lights of a red sports car flash right beside him, catching his attention. He approaches the vehicle, thinking it must belong to the new talent he's looking for. Mangshu tries to open the car door, but to his surprise, it's locked. At that moment, the system notifies him that to solve his new company's transportation problems, he has been given a part-time job as a rideshare driver. The protagonist stares at his reflection in the car window, which seems much darker and more sinister than usual. The system advises him to face life with a smile to attract good luck, but our hero takes the advice a little too literally. With a completely insane smile, he yells for the zombies to be polite as he attacks them mercilessly. During the battle, he even recognizes one of the creatures as Uncle Wang and scoffs, saying he didn't even know he had become a boss. Hiding nearby, a group of survivors watches in terror as one of them tries to cover a woman's mouth to muffle her screams. Without caring about the audience, the protagonist skewers another zombie with his spear, leaving the survivors even more terrified. With a mocking smile, he recognizes another creature as Old Jowl, showing he knew the neighborhood well. Faced with that terrifying scene, two of the survivors despair and try to flee by running to the parking garage. But Mangshu doesn't let them escape and leaps towards them with a menacing look, ready to teach them a lesson. The tip of his improvised spear drips with the dark fluid of the creatures he defeated, showing the brutality of the combat. After clearing the path, our hero stands over one of the bodies and complains about how exhausting the work is. He sits down to rest and laments that the zombies attack him, as it would be much easier to distribute pamphlets if they were friendly. Looking at the parking garage now filled with bodies, he wonders if anyone will still request a rideshare car. He approaches the red car and finds the idea of someone calling a driver from inside a garage completely nonsensical. However, as soon as he touches the steering wheel, the car's engine roars and flames shoot out from the front of the vehicle. From there, the car takes off at high speed, screeching its tires and leaving the parking garage with a bang. Elsewhere, a man desperately searches for some medicine, but the bottle in his hand is completely empty. He throws the empty bottles on the table, confirming there's nothing left to help his family. Leaning on the table, frustration overwhelms him in the face of the desperate situation. With clenched teeth, he shows his determination not to give up, even without resources. The scene widens to reveal a sick child in bed with her mother by her side. While the man watches from the doorway, the woman checks the thermometer and confirms that her daughter's high fever isn't going down. He then informs her that the medicine has run out, and his wife breaks down in tears, not knowing what to do. The man feels helpless and wonders what their next step will be now that they're out of options. From there, his expression changes, and with a determined look, he tells his wife he needs to go out. The woman begs him not to go, knowing the dangers that await him outside. He comforts her, saying the situation is already bad and it's time to risk everything. So, he says goodbye and asks her to take care of the child while he looks for help. The world outside is complete chaos, with destroyed buildings and zombies everywhere. After running for just half an hour, the man is already exhausted and needs to stop to rest. Sweating heavily, he complains about how terrible getting old is, leaving him out of breath so quickly. Suddenly, he hears the zombies approaching and screams desperately for them not to chase him. The street is infested with creatures, and he runs for his life, begging not to meet his end. At that moment, another survivor in a red hoodie leaps towards him. The guy in red lands right in front of him, blocking the path. Without hesitation, the traitor kicks him hard, sending him towards the zombies. With the impact, he falls to the ground and is at the mercy of the slowly approaching creatures. The guy in the hoodie apologizes, saying he doesn't want to perish either and that he needs a distraction. Fallen on the ground, the man is speechless and can't believe what just happened. Terror fills his face as he stares at his terrible fate. Soon after, the zombies surround him from all sides, ready to attack. The creature's hands get closer to his head, and he accepts that this is his end. But suddenly, a red car appears at high speed, honking nonstop. The vehicle runs over the creatures without mercy, sending them all flying and saving the man. With the space splattered, he is in shock, not understanding where that unexpected help came from. Looking at the car, he sees our protagonist in the driver's seat with a calm smile on his face. Our protagonist leans out of the car and asks the man if he needs a ride, offering the basic fare if the destination is nearby. The system then notifies him that, for his first ride, he has earned 3,000 in cash, increasing the company's balance to 167,000. A new screen appears, explaining that a perfect life requires being a generous boss and that paying well prevents employees from quitting. Mangshu panics when he realizes he promised a salary of 20,000 to Shen, Jiajiao, and still needs to pay 10,000 to each of the zombies. Meanwhile, back at the office, the new employee suddenly sneezes, feeling a chill. She looks exhausted and sick as she continues working on the computer without complaining. Her two zombie colleagues watch her with a threatening expression, which makes the situation even more bizarre. Back on the street, our hero sighs and asks the man what he's doing there and where he's going. The man explains that he's an HR manager and needs to go to the pharmacy to get medicine for his sick daughter, and the protagonist questions why he isn't using his own car. He reveals that he sold the vehicle because of the bad economy and that driving makes a lot of noise and attracts zombies. He's completely confused by the whole situation. Our protagonist agrees that the economy is terrible and complains that even he, a company boss, needs to drive for a rideshare app to be able to pay salaries. The scene leaves the two men in a moment of complete confusion with the strange reality they are living in. With a sudden change in attitude, Mangshu introduces himself as the president of Peace and Order and offers him a job with a high salary. The generous offer is 3,000 a month with housing and food included, which leaves the man speechless. Mangshu then explains that he's on his way to handle the company's bureaucracy and that the pharmacy is on the way, so he can drop him off there without any problem. The man thinks our protagonist is not all there, but decides it's better to live in a weird way than not at all. Because of this, he shakes Mangshu's hand and says that first, they need to go to the pharmacy, which isn't too far away. Our protagonist grabs the man with an exaggerated enthusiasm, saying they can have a good chat on the way. With all this crazy energy, the desperate father starts to feel like his own sanity is slipping away. Once in the car, our hero strikes up a conversation and asks where the man's daughter studies and if her grades are good. Without worrying about the undead traffic, Mangshu speeds up and runs over the horde that was in the way. The passenger looks terrified at the creatures outside, while our protagonist complains about the impatience of people who want to ride without seeing that the car is already full. He then gets annoyed with one of the zombies and punches it through the window, telling it to stop following them. He then yells that the car is full and he's not taking anyone else, as this is a rideshare and not a carpool. The man is shocked by the scene and wonders how this young man is already so stressed after surviving for only 3 days. Faced with the situation, our hero floors the accelerator and makes a sharp turn to get away. With this sudden maneuver, the passenger is thrown against the car window while Mangshu drives with a sour look on his face. The passenger recovers from the shock and asks Mangshu what's wrong. With the utmost calm, our protagonist simply replies nothing and lights a cigarette. He then explains that he was just waiting for the red light and offers a cigarette to the man, who is left completely baffled. The HR manager looks out the window at the ruined city and the red light, not understanding our protagonist's calmness. Soon after, a horde of zombies approaches, running towards their car. The creatures surround the vehicle and start banging on the windows, trying to get in. With the utmost calm, our hero comments that those guys are very rude for not respecting traffic laws. Seeing a zombie's hand on the window, the passenger panics and yells for Mangshu to step on it, as they can't just sit there at the end of the world. Our protagonist then scolds the man for suggesting he run a red light and reminds him of the fine and the points he would lose on his license. Faced with this madness, the HR manager regrets getting into that car and questions his own sanity. The car remains stopped in the middle of the street, surrounded by zombies, as the light turns yellow. Finally, the light turns green, and they can continue on their way. With that, Mangshu floors the accelerator, and the car shoots forward, running over all the creatures that were in front. The man is impressed with our hero's driving skills, who just gives a confident smile. The protagonist then remembers that he's been playing a racing game for 10 years and knows very well what a nitro boost is. Suddenly, Mangshu's expression changes as he looks in the rearview mirror. He warns the passenger that there's a car following them. The desperate father looks back worriedly and asks what they want, even suggesting it might be another driver trying to steal his customer. Mangshu scoffs at the passenger's idea and says there are no more rideshare drivers at the end of the world. He supposes they must be other survivors trying to rob them, and the man is surprised to see he can talk like a normal person. The passenger gets curious and asks what the other possibility is, while our protagonist cracks a sinister smile. With a completely crazy expression, Shu says that maybe it's the zombies he finished off in the parking garage seeking revenge, and that he'll take care of them when they stop, which makes the desperate father think the world has gone completely insane. The man tries to stay calm and, with a nervous smile, says he thinks zombies probably don't know how to drive. Our hero agrees with him and says that, in that case, they must be people and they'll figure out a way to trick them to see what they want. With a focused look, he starts to devise a plan to deal with the situation. Suddenly, the passenger notices a change in the protagonist's face and asks what's happening. A system notification informs him that the bodyguard he summoned has appeared nearby, and he wonders if it could be someone in the car behind them, but dismisses the idea since the system would have warned him. At that moment, the man points forward in a panic and yells for our hero to look at what's coming. Right in front of them, a giant, muscular zombie blocks the path, holding another smaller creature. The system screen analyzes the monster and identifies it as a level 3 strength-type mutant zombie. The protagonist is completely shocked and yells at the system, wondering if that monster is the bodyguard he was supposed to meet. The passenger suggests they just run over the creature, but our protagonist says their priority is to handle business and get the medicine. So, he floors it and uses the debris on the side of the road as a ramp to jump over the giant zombie. After the risky maneuver, he steps on the gas and manages to get past the monster, leaving it behind in the dust. Our protagonist looks at the giant zombie and says he may be crazy, but he's not an idiot, and that creature looks pretty tough to handle. Because of that, he floors the accelerator and flies past the monster without even thinking about stopping. An overhead view shows the red car speeding away while the silver vehicle that was following them is left behind with the zombie in the middle of the street. Inside the other car, a young woman with pink hair says she's scared and suggests they turn around to avoid the danger. The driver, with a mocking smile, reassures her, saying there's no reason to worry since the car in front was clearing the path. With a malicious look, he decides to seize the opportunity and move forward without fear. So, the silver car accelerates towards the mutant zombie that was left behind at the intersection. The giant creature notices the approach of the new target and turns to face it, ready for combat. Its red eyes glow with a murderous fury as it prepares for the attack. Now at a safe distance, the HR manager asks our hero what that thing was, as it looked different from the other zombies. Shu replies with a serious expression that the thing could only be the advanced bodyguard the system mentioned. The passenger is completely confused and, not understanding a thing, asks what a bodyguard is. Right behind them, the silver car continues to get closer and closer to the green monster waiting for them. Suddenly, a gigantic explosion occurs right where the zombie was. Our protagonist continues driving calmly while the sky behind them turns completely red from the explosion. After arriving at a safe place, our hero asks for payment for the ride, and the man asks if he can pay with the card and hands his to Shu. With the card in hand, the protagonist says the money is useful for paying his employees' salaries, and with that, the system notifies him that the first ride was a success and rewards him with experience, money, and another attribute point, which he decides to put into strength. The HR manager observes the scene and concludes that although Shu is crazy, he's a good kind of crazy. And he also realizes that without our hero's help, he would already be gone, and that staying by his side is his best chance of survival. With a determined look, the man makes his decision and decides to go along with this madness. The passenger then strikes up a conversation and asks how many employees the company has, and if there's enough food for everyone. Our protagonist takes the opportunity and asks if he wants to join the company, and asks him to introduce himself for an evaluation. The man introduces himself as Yang Lumping, a former HR manager from a brewery, and reveals that he originally studied to be an electrician. Our hero gets excited about the news and says that an electrician is exactly what the company needs, as they are just starting out. The new employee then asks if he can bring his wife and son along, and with a smile, Shu agrees on the spot. Suddenly, the system warns him that child labor is prohibited, but our protagonist thinks that if he doesn't pay the boy, it doesn't count as employment. With his foolproof plan in mind, he reassures Zhang Lumpeng and says that his entire family is welcome at the company. The system detects the new employee's desire to work and Shu's agreement to hire him and his wife, and then tells our hero to negotiate their salaries. Our protagonist then asks what their salary expectations are, but Zhang Lumping says he doesn't need a salary and just wants to work hard. With that answer, our hero is completely moved and his eyes sparkle. He then holds the new employee's hands and says that he is very important to the company, but the system interrupts him with a warning that the company's employees have a minimum salary requirement. The system's notification leaves our protagonist completely speechless and with a sour look on his face. But he quickly changes his posture and scolds the new employee, asking if he thinks the company is a feudal empire and that in a modern company, employees must be paid for their work. Our hero even yells that this is an eternal principle and cannot be broken. With that, he says that since the man is new to the company, he will hire him as an intern and offers him a monthly salary. He then completes the proposal by offering 8,000 a month and asks if that sounds good to him. The system then displays the internship rules, which can last a maximum of 3 months, and after that, the intern becomes an employee with a slightly lower salary than the others. Faced with the generous offer, Zhang Lumping accepts on the spot and says he is willing to join the company. So Meng Shu shakes his hand and welcomes him, saying that from that moment on, the company is his home. Our protagonist then says they won't have time to handle the paperwork and suggests the man go get the medicine for his daughter while he goes back to his apartment. Before leaving, he hands a kitchen knife to his new employee and warns him that it's only for self-defense and that he shouldn't break the law. Our hero glares at him with a serious and determined look while waiting for an answer. With the knife in hand, Zhang Lumping promises that he will definitely follow the laws. After that, Meng Shu peels out in the car and drives away, leaving his new employee alone in front of the pharmacy. The desperate father stands on the sidewalk with the knife in his hand, not quite sure what to do. But soon after, he cracks a smile and feels much safer with his new weapon. After dropping off his new employee at the pharmacy, our protagonist finally arrives at his apartment. As soon as he enters the place, he looks very tired after a long day of work. Because of this, he throws his dirty shirt on the floor, preparing to rest. Completely exhausted, he throws himself onto the bed and thinks about how wonderful his life is now that he has a company and helpful neighbors. From there, he stretches and decides he'll take a shower and get a good night's sleep, as tomorrow will be a new day. Lying in bed, the system informs him that a perfect life starts with a perfect sleep, and our hero is happy to know he can earn rewards even while sleeping. That thought fills him with determination for what's to come. With a satisfied smile, he concludes that his life is now truly perfect. 2 days pass, and after handling all the bureaucracy, our protagonist prepares to return to the company. So, he floors it and speeds with his car through the destroyed streets of the city. This time, Zhang Lumping is driving while Meng Shu relaxes in the passenger seat, looking at his phone. On the phone screen, he sees a news report about the formation of a citizens' rescue committee with the leaders' names. He finds it strange that people are already organizing into response teams and feels that something isn't right about that story. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by a system notification warning him that a special talent is nearby. With that, our hero looks out the window and spots something that catches his attention in the middle of the street. In the middle of the street, he sees a giant mutant zombie lying on the ground, surrounded by a group of survivors. Our protagonist recognizes the crashed car as the same one that was following them before and tells his new employee to stop the vehicle. On his command, the red car stops right in front of the scene, giving them a prime view of everything. Zhang Lumping observes the nearby zombies and wonders what his boss is planning, but decides to just follow his orders. Meng Shu gets out of the car and, with the utmost calm, asks his employee what he thinks the fallen zombie is doing. Then, our hero grabs an axe and, with a mocking smile, says it looks like the monster is just waiting for work. Without wasting any time, he advances towards the fallen creature while the other zombies prepare to attack him. Our hero then charges at the creatures with incredible speed. With a single swing, he cuts 2 zombies in half, clearing the path. He continues his relentless assault and finishes off another creature with a clean strike. From inside the car, Zhang Lumping is completely shocked by his new boss's strength. Already covered in splatters, our protagonist approaches the fallen monster and asks how much it earned today. The giant creature just grunts in response, showing it's still alive. With an amused smile, Meng Shu realizes the monster wasn't waiting for work, but was run over and tells it to hang in there. As he gets closer, he notices the zombie's leg is healing and wonders if these creatures can regenerate. With his axe embedded in the creature, our protagonist tells it not to rush him. As he's thinking, he realizes that this zombie is different from the others and starts to wonder if he should study it to better understand the mutants. Watching from a distance, Zhang Lunping thinks that even though his boss isn't normal, he truly cares about his employees. Without wasting any more time, he raises the axe and chops off the creature's leg with a single blow. Our hero stands over the defeated monster, holding the leg he just severed. Soon after, he tosses the limb aside without a care in the world. With a fierce expression, he continues to attack the creature relentlessly, showing all his strength. Leaning against the car, his new employee lights a cigarette, completely shocked by the brutality of the scene. Zhang Lunping questions him about the legality of his actions, but our hero simply replies that it's not a person, it's a zombie. With a sinister smile, he asks if by any chance there's a law for protecting zombies. He then explains that he felt something strange about that monster and that studying it is a scientific research job to discover its weaknesses. For his research, he grabs a tire iron, ready to begin the analysis. He charges at the creature with the tool in hand, ready for the next step of his study. With a clean hit, he strikes the monster's head with the tire iron, causing considerable damage. The scene leaves his employee completely terrified and covered in splatters. Crouched over the monster, our protagonist continues his analysis with the tire iron. To his surprise, he finds a shiny red crystal inside the creature's head and wonders if it's for getting superpowers. His employee approaches and asks what that is, but our hero, all dirty, just asks for a tissue to wipe his hand. Without questioning, the man hands what looks like a piece of paper to his boss. With that, our protagonist uses the paper to carefully pick up the crystal, avoiding direct contact. With the item in hand, he stands up and tells his employee it's time to go back to the company. He concludes that he needs to find an expert to study the crystal, and that his job as president is just to lead the company well. A short time later, they finally arrive at the company building, ending their first business trip. Peace and Order's first mission was a success, as they not only handled the bureaucracy, but also hired 3 new talents. While watching his boss, Zhang Lunping questions if he really found a new job in that environment and concludes that his own sanity is already gone. Once inside the building, our hero mentions that the company requires weekly reports, and his new employee assures him he will record everything objectively. Our protagonist gets annoyed by the names the man mentioned and thinks that one makes money off women and the other off children. With a fiery aura around him, he declares that the money he's going to make will come from every yeoman, women, young and old. He then looks at his new intern and, with a smile, thinks that he's quite malleable and has a great chance of becoming a full-time employee in 3 months. As they enter the building, they encounter a big, strong man in a yellow cap waiting for them at the reception. Suddenly, the man reveals himself to be a zombie and charges at them, ready to attack. But Mengxu is not intimidated, and with his axe in hand, he prepares for combat. With a clean strike, our protagonist hits the creature and yells that they are neighbors, and he should have better manners. After the little lesson, Zhang Lunping applauds his boss, and our hero says he likes hardworking people who are willing to learn. The next day, a new workday begins at the Peace and Order Company. Zhang Lunping arrives with his family and instructs his daughter to respect the boss and pretend the apocalypse isn't happening. He explains to his wife that if they don't work, they won't have anything to eat. The woman then realizes that maybe her new boss isn't as crazy as she thought. But her husband interrupts her and insists that Mengxu's mental state is perfectly normal and tells her to get ready to meet him. He then asks his wife to hand him all the bank cards and the family savings. With a determined look, he says he's going to do something very big with that money. As they enter the office, they find Shen Zhaozhao and our protagonist already working at their desks. The young woman is completely focused on her tasks, typing non-stop on the computer. Zhang Lunping then introduces his family to Mengxu, who welcomes them with a smile and says there are plenty of empty desks for them to choose from. Because of this, our hero instructs the woman to take the child to find a place to sit, and she agrees without question. Zhang Lunping's wife is completely lost in the situation and wonders where she is and what is happening. As the new family settles in, Shen Zhaozhao continues working at her desk, but seems quite annoyed by the conversation happening behind her. From there, Zhang Lunping approaches our protagonist and, with a smile, offers his credit card as a small gift. Our hero gets super excited about the bribe and thinks his new employee knows exactly how things work to get ahead in life. But the system quickly ruins his joy and scolds him for even considering accepting the bribe, which leaves Mengxu quite frustrated with so many rules. Forced to act correctly, our protagonist leans back in his chair and tells Zhang Lunping how disappointed he is with that attitude. The new employee immediately apologizes for trying to use a bribe to get a promotion, and our hero accepts the apology but warns him not to repeat the mistake. Shen Zhao Zhao overhears the whole conversation and is surprised to see how this strange company is actually quite legitimate. Zhang Lumping then asks about his chances of becoming a full-time employee, and Meng Shu encourages him, saying that if he works hard, the company will surely promote him. However, inside, he thinks it's a bit ambitious for someone who just arrived to already be thinking about a promotion. So, our protagonist tells Xin Zhao Zhao to print 2 work contracts for the new employees to formalize their entry into the team. The young woman complains that the power is out and she couldn't finish her work, but Meng Shu just tells her to write everything by hand if necessary. He then reprimands her for her lack of initiative and, as a punishment, cuts her salary in half, from 20,000 to 10,000. Shen Zhao Zhao accepts the punishment without complaining and admits that the misjudgment was hers. Our hero then instructs her to take the couple to the conference room to sign the contracts and also to make copies for Qi Wei, manager Zhang, and 2 more new employees who are on their way. With a smile, Shen Zhao Zhao agrees to her boss's orders, ready to carry out her tasks. Soon after, the system informs Meng Shu that the company is now fully operational and that he can hold a meeting to restructure the positions. A new task is activated to hold this meeting, and the reward is 50 experience points, 10 attribute points, and 3 more skill points. Our protagonist gets super excited about the generous reward and decides he needs to hold that meeting no matter what. Without wasting time, he calls for Shiwei and manager Zhang and invites them to go with him to the meeting. He then enters the conference room and tells everyone that the meeting will start first and that the contract copies can wait. With the boss's arrival, everyone stands up as a sign of respect, showing the seriousness of the moment. Zhang Lumping then pulls out the chair for our hero to sit, showing his suck-up side. His wife is confused by her husband's attitude, but quickly gets the message. The woman then lights up and realizes what she needs to do to please the new boss. She then approaches and offers a soda to Meng Shu, showing she knows how to play the game too. Our protagonist praises the quality of his new employees and says they are flawless. Meanwhile, Shen Zhao Zhao watches the whole scene with a sour look on her face, feeling like she's being left behind. The young woman then slams her pan on the table, showing her frustration. With a fiery aura around her, she stands up and declares that she is the old employee the boss likes the most, and that the newcomers shouldn't get too cocky. Shen Zhao doesn't fall behind and offers to massage her boss's shoulders, saying he must be tired from his business trip. She boasts about graduating from a good university and knowing how to handle social situations, while our protagonist just enjoys the moment. The scene in the meeting room is quite bizarre, with Qi Wei, manager Zhang, and even the child sleeping soundly on the table. Our protagonist then takes a sip of his drink and finally asks for silence so everyone can calm down. With everyone's attention, he prepares to start the company's first official meeting. He begins to restructure the company, creating 2 business divisions, one for sanitation and cleaning, and another for communication and services, with new leaders and positions for everyone. He then establishes the most important rule of the company, the harmonious coexistence between humans and zombies, without any kind of discrimination. Faced with the new rule, the human employees applaud the decision, while the zombies just grunt in approval. Our hero then opens the floor for questions and says the company stands for freedom of speech. With that, he gives the floor to Shen Zhao, who seems to have something important to say. The young woman asks what the company's main focus will be, and he explains that they will take care of cleaning the building and also handle calls from Wansheng International. The system notifies him of his employees' excellent performance, and he tells her to write the contracts by hand and prepare spreadsheets to send the new couple to another company. With everything settled, our protagonist adjourns the meeting and everyone seems satisfied with the plan of action. The system congratulates him on the decisive and efficient meeting and informs him that now he just needs to resolve the issues with the other company to be able to relax. The task is completed with a perfect rating, and without a second thought, our hero puts all his new attribute points into agility. With the meeting adjourned, our protagonist dismisses all the employees, but as he leaves the room, he finds Qi Wei and manager Zhang enjoying a little snack. He stands there watching the scene while the 2 continue their feast without even noticing the boss's presence. Suddenly, the red crystal he wears as a necklace starts to glow intensely. With the glow, the 2 creatures stop eating immediately and look at him, completely mesmerized. Our hero then realizes what's happening and holds the necklace, asking if that's what they want. Like two little puppies, they get super excited, and our protagonist discovers that it's an evolution crystal. With this new discovery, he now has the perfect tool to control his zombie employees. He then turns to the human employees and tells them to finish the contracts and clean up the office. With a confident smile, our protagonist declares they have 3 days to clean the entire building and turn it into a real company. He then dangles the crystal on the end of a stick and tells them to find out as quickly as possible what that ruby does. The system then displays a detailed description of the item, which is a basic strength type evolution crystal but has a high chance of viral infection. Our hero analyzes the information and understands that eating the crystal grants a strength enhancement. With a sly smile, he thinks he has found the best way to to guide his employees. So, he establishes the new company rule. Whoever bites people doesn't get rubies, and the two zombies become desperate to reach the crystal. With a smile on his face, our hero tells his two zombie employees to work hard and clean the company. The two creatures seem super motivated and ready to start the general cleanup of the building. Faced with their excitement, the protagonist says he'll take that as a yes and that they understood the order. At that moment, his human employees appear at the door and inform him that the contracts are ready for him to sign, and our hero says he's on his way. Once in the office, he finds his new employee's family and asks the woman if her daughter is feeling better after taking the medicine. Zhang Lumping's wife replies that although the fever has passed, the girl is still not well, and she doesn't know why. Our protagonist then tells her to pay attention to her daughter's health while she works, as children are the future. From there, the system notifies him that taking care of subordinates is the most important thing for a good boss and reveals that the girl has a special mutant inflammation that is starting to spread. A new task is activated for him to take care of his employees and treat the inflammation, and our hero is shocked by the mission. With an annoyed expression, he thinks that he doesn't know how to cure anything and only knows remedies for stomachaches and colds. But suddenly, he has an idea and opens the system store to see if he can find any special medicine there. Upon opening the store, he finds a box of cold medicine that seems to be the solution to his problem. Without a second thought, he confirms the purchase, and the system notifies him that the exchange was successful. The box of medicine then appears in his hand while Zhang Linping's wife stares at him, completely baffled. With a confident smile, he makes up an excuse and says that a friend of his developed that special medicine and that if she gives it to her daughter, the girl will get better. As he prepares to leave, Zhang Linping asks where the boss is going, and Xin Zhaozhao offers to go along, saying she has practiced her pamphlet distribution technique. The young woman shows herself to be super determined and guarantees that she can now hand out the flyers very quickly and can definitely help. But our protagonist interrupts her with a serious expression and says it's not about distributing pamphlets, which makes the employee worried about proving her worth. He then explains that Wanxiang International has many employees and that he's going there to find Supervisor Lin to help them downsize. With an axe in hand and a sinister smile, our hero prepares to leave, leaving his 3 employees completely baffled. He declares that in the past, he was timid and could only take out zombies with positioning, but today, he's going all out and will take out zombies using other zombies. With that, he says goodbye and leaves while his employees wish him to be careful. As soon as he leaves the office, the others fall silent, and Shen Zhaozhao signals for no one to speak. Zhang Lumping's wife then asks her husband if they should really give that medicine to their daughter, and he replies that Meng Shu wouldn't harm them, and that they need to try everything. The man adds that at this point, they have no other choice, and the two walk through the office towards their daughter. Arriving near the girl, the mother offers her the medicine to take with a glass of water. The child then takes the glass and drinks the entire contents without complaining. Her parents watch the scene, completely nervous and anxious for the result. Suddenly, the girl opens her eyes, looking completely cured, and with a smile, calls for her mother. She then points to her father and says that her mother lied and that he didn't get any plastic surgery, leaving the two completely confused by the situation. The parents are completely embarrassed by their daughter's comment and don't know what to say. Leaving the confusion aside, the mother hugs her daughter tightly, while the father celebrates happily that she is well. Meanwhile, Shen Zhaozhao cries softly near the door, wondering how her parents are now, but soon after, she turns in shock, realizing that the girl recovered in less than a minute after taking the medicine. She starts to question if she has accidentally joined a corporation like Umbrella and concludes that her boss, Meng Shu, is simply incredible. Far away, our protagonist climbs the stairs with his axe on his shoulder, ready for his mission. The system congratulates him on his kindness in spending 20 points to treat an employee's daughter and says it's proud that he hasn't lost his humanity. The task is completed with a super perfect rating, and he gains 15 experience, 50,000 in cash, 5 points, and 1 more attribute point. In addition, he unlocks a secret achievement of talented and virtuous, which gives him another half attribute point and 5,000 in cash. Our hero is super happy with the praise, and even asks the system to keep complimenting him because he loves to hear it. With a smug smile, he decides to add his new points to Spirit and reach level 20 so that no one dares to say his mental state isn't normal anymore. He analyzes his stats and concludes that although they're good, his constitution and spirit are still low, and decides that next time he will focus on maximizing speed first. Continuing on his way, he encounters 2 zombies at the top of the stairs, blocking the passage. The 2 creatures are level 1 zombies and seem ready to attack at any moment. With a determined look, our protagonist declares that in the apocalypse, having too many employees is not good for business, and that he will help them downsize. With that, he advances and lays off the first employee with a swing of his axe for poor customer service. After dealing with the first one, our hero runs up the stairs towards the next target. He then lays off the second creature for a lack of basic professional competence. With the path clear, he climbs the blood-stained stairs and hears noises coming from behind a large wooden door. With a mocking smile and a dirty face, he comments that he's being honored with a grand reception. He stops in front of the door, introduces himself as Shu from Peace and Order, and announces that he has come to help with the downsizing. Upon entering the office, he faces another horde of zombies, and the battle resumes. Our protagonist moves with agility and lands a solid hit on a zombie with his axe. He continues his deadly dance, dodging attacks and counterattacking non-stop. A satisfied smile appears on his face as he enjoys the cleanup. In a short time, the office floor is covered with laid-off employees, and our hero declares the job done. He then approaches the last door and tells Supervisor Lin not to get so excited, as he feels honored to help with the layoffs and even offers him a job at his company. Meanwhile, outside the building, life seems to go on in its chaotic way. But in a nearby fruit shop, a familiar face peeks through the window. The blonde guy who had fled before watches the street from his hideout, which is also filled with defeated creatures. With an air of superiority, the blonde guy who we now know is named Meng Peng, a former vice manager of Wanxiang International, declares that no one should fight him for resources. Accompanied by another survivor, he threatens that otherwise he will take out everyone who gets in his way. With a sadistic smile, he comments that the apocalypse is great because he can do whatever he wants without consequences, and that it would be nice if more survivors showed up for him to play with. Suddenly, he notices someone approaching and tells his 2 companions to work faster. Peeking through the window, he is completely shocked by what he sees outside. He doesn't understand how a human is walking with zombies and how the creatures seem to be on the move. Suddenly, something even more bizarre happens, and a fried chicken stall comes flying down the street. The guy is completely panicked and wonders what the heck that is. Meanwhile, the system informs our protagonist that all the night shift employees of Wanxiang International have been laid off, and that he has 3 new options. The first phase of the task was successfully completed, and he receives experience, points, and 500,000 in cash. Even the zombie manager comments that throwing the old manager in the trash might complicate future collaborations. With a determined look, our hero chooses the first option, which is to continue the fight. The other options were to expand gradually or to seek a win-win cooperation with the other company. He decides to add his 1.5 point to agility, but then thinks better of it and decides to save the experience points for now. Looking at the building, he declares that he won't feel at ease until he has full control of the place. At that moment, the system notifies him that employee K3, the leader of Team 1 of the Sanitation and Cleaning Department, has arrived at the designated location. Our protagonist looks at the fried chicken stall and realizes this means he can do missions while eating. With that, he approaches his new employee, a red-haired zombie, and praises him for working hard on his journey. Hiding in his hideout, Meng Peng is completely shocked by the scene and wonders if he's going crazy because he doesn't understand anything he's seeing. Our hero then gives the first order to the new employee, Li Sheng, which is to clear all the zombies from the 2nd and 3rd floors and then cooperate with the others for a complete cleanup. Without wasting time, he tells the creature to start the job, and the chicken stall shoots off at high speed. The red-haired zombie then leaps forward with full force, ready to carry out its first cleaning mission. With impressive speed, the creature advances towards the building to begin the heavy-duty work. Back in the hideout, Meng Shunpeng watches the scene, and one of his companions recognizes the zombie manager as the manager from the building downstairs. The blonde guy gets curious about the situation and decides he needs to go see up close what makes that zombie different from the others. The scene then changes, showing the grandeur of the city's buildings, which are now in complete chaos. Our protagonist walks through a now clean hallway and praises the work, saying everything is orderly and full of vitality. Upon arriving at the office, the new couple of employees greets him excitedly, calling for their boss. Soon after, the two bow in gratitude and say that Director Meng is their family's savior. With a smile, our hero says that if they really want to thank him, they should just work hard to improve the company's productivity and become full-time employees soon. The couple then assures him they will do their best, and even the little girl thanks Uncle Meng, a bit scared by his appearance. Zhang Lumping scolds his daughter and says she should call him Grandpa Meng, but the girl replies that he's too young for that. The man thinks he wants more than that. He wants to venerate Director Meng as an ancestor because, without him, he would be nowhere. The little girl then calls our protagonist Grandpa Meng, and he pats her head saying she is the future of peace and order. With a sinister smile, our hero thinks that if Director Meng pats your head, you'll work overtime with joy. He then gives a speech to his employees and says the company is just starting and that after they clean the 4th floor, everyone should go clean the other floors. The new family applauds the boss's speech, completely inspired by his words. Our protagonist says goodbye, saying he has some business plans to take care of and tells everyone to get back to work. Suddenly, a system notification appears, informing him that his employee Zhang Tao suffered a work accident and passed away, which leaves our hero confused. He panics when he sees he needs to pay a compensation of 1.14 million yuan. Soon after, the system informs him that since the employee was not human, the compensation was reduced to 380,000 yuan, and that he cannot appeal because he doesn't have a legal department. The screen continues to explain that having a legal department could reduce the compensation even further and praises our hero for agreeing to pay the compensation. With that, he unlocks the Conscience Pioneer achievement and gains 100,000 in cash and half an attribute point. Our protagonist breathes a sigh of relief for not having to pay the full amount. His expression changes completely, and with a furious look, he realizes that someone dared to take out one of his employees. With a wicked smile, he thinks that the next time an employee is about to be taken out, he needs to fire them first, as severance is always cheaper. He then turns to the couple and announces that one of his best employees, Zhang Tao, a company veteran, passed away while working diligently. He continues his dramatic speech and says that Zhang Tao was his right-hand man even before the company existed and that he accompanied him through the toughest times. With an Oscar-worthy performance, he throws himself back and yells that he's heartbroken over his employee's passing. His sadness soon turns to fury, and he stands up punching the wall as he asks who was responsible for this and then summons everyone to gather. With the entire team assembled, he orders them to get the cart with 200 fried chicken strips and prepare them, but warns that no one can eat or they'll have to deal with him. Our protagonist then warns the human group to be careful and not go to other floors, and Zhang Lunping assures him they will follow the orders. From there, our hero declares that it's hunting time and that only he can take out his employees. Without a second thought, he decides to use his points on agility to start his revenge. The system confirms the decision, and his agility rises to 18, approaching human limits. Once outside, a horde of zombies roams the street aimlessly. Soon after, our protagonist and his two zombie companions face the creatures, ready to clear a path. With the command, our hero sends his two bodyguards forward, and they dash off at high speed. The red-haired zombie leads the attack, its eyes glowing with fury. He lands a powerful punch on the head of one of the monsters. The creature continues its massacre and clears the path with ease, sending the other zombies flying. Its face shows all its fury as it advances relentlessly. Their charge leads them straight to the fruit shop where the enemy is hiding. Inside the fruit shop, Meng Shunpeng is in the middle of the carnage he himself caused to survive. He analyzes a piece of what's left of the zombie manager, not understanding why that creature was moving bodies instead of just attacking like the others. Suddenly, the silence is broken by loud bangs on the shop's metal door. The blonde guy tenses up and wonders who could be knocking on the front door with all that chaos outside. Very cautiously, he goes to the window and peeks through a crack in the curtain to find out who it is. The street outside has turned into a veritable cemetery with the bodies of all the zombies that attacked him scattered on the ground. One of his companions is completely shocked and wonders if all the creatures were really defeated. Meng Shunpeng then notices that there's still one zombie alive, banging on the glass door, but seems quite confident about the situation. A sly smile appears on his face as he continues to observe what's happening. Outside, our protagonist stands with his axe in hand, all dirty, showing who was responsible for the cleanup. The blonde guy is terrified upon recognizing our hero and realizes he was the guy controlling the zombies, wondering if he was seen. Meng Shu laments that unfortunately, there's a human at the location where his employee was taken down and reflects that he can't just attack a person over a zombie. Because of this, he knocks on the shop door and yells for them to open up because they need to talk about something important. Meng Shunpeng is surprised to hear the voice and realizes the man outside is human. With a psychotic smile, he concludes that since his opponent is human, there's no other way out but to fight to the end. The blonde guy opens the shop door and with a fake smile apologizes to our hero, saying that times are tough and he was a bit too tense. He then introduces himself as Meng Shunpeng, the vice manager of Wanxiang International, and asks for the protagonist's name, trying to seem friendly. Our hero immediately realizes the guy is a snake in the grass and that all that kindness is just a trap. Even so, he decides to play along and introduces himself as Meng Shu. The blonde guy gets all excited upon discovering they have the same last name and even jokes that they might be from the same family 500 years ago. With a smile, our protagonist agrees with the idea and says it's quite likely. But inside, he's already suspicious and decides to use his read people ability to find out the truth about this guy. The system screen reveals that Meng Shunpeng is a level 3 corporate executive and also a psychologically disturbed killer who can level up if he takes out 4 more people. The guy then invites him to come in and talk, saying it's not safe outside. Our protagonist accepts the invitation and enters the shop while the blonde guy thinks he's a real sucker. But before he could finish his thought, our hero turns the tables with a surprise kick. The blow lands squarely and sends Meng Shunpeng flying into the shop. With that, the guy falls to the ground, completely stunned and not understanding how he was tricked like that. With his foot on the enemy's back, our protagonist glares at him with fury and asks who gave him the courage to take out one of his employees. The scene then pans away from the fruit shop, showing that our hero's revenge is just beginning. With a furious look, our protagonist accuses him of having finished off not only old Lu from the fruit shop, but also the other people who were in the alley. With his foot on Meng Shunpeng's head, he prevents him from speaking and glares at him with contempt. Then, our hero lands a powerful kick on the guy and yells that he is a beast who doesn't deserve to carry the Meng surname. Lying on the ground, the blonde guy begs for his life and says he was just trying to protect himself and is willing to work like a slave to be spared. The protagonist glares at him with the axe in hand and recites his rights as if he were a police officer, warning that anything he says can be used against him. With a sly smile, our hero offers a chance of survival and says that everyone makes mistakes. From there, one of his zombie employees appears at the door with a threatening look. Ming Shu then says that everything is understood without words as the creature approaches the kneeling guy. Leaving the revenge aside, he calls for Chi Wei and tells her to start gathering the fruit from the shop. The red-haired zombie glares at Meng Shunpeng with a sinister smile, ready to teach the guy a lesson. Meanwhile, our hero already starts looting the shop and leaves carrying a box of apples. The system then scolds him for his vulgar attitude and informs him that Meng Shunpeng's favorability with him is now -100. The screen continues, saying the system is ashamed of his speed and getting into trouble, and recommends he create a legal department as soon as possible. Our protagonist reflects on the situation and concludes that he really needs a legal department so that compensation for employee demises will be lower. Suddenly, he remembers the lawyer Zhang Wei, who is on the floor above, and realizes he is the perfect candidate for the job. Back in the fruit shop, our protagonist organizes the loot and tells Shiwei to stop messing with the fruit, as she will be responsible for carrying the mineral water. He then stops and stares at her with a serious expression, as if he noticed something different about her. The young woman turns to him with a confused look, and suddenly her appearance seems much prettier, and even a sparkle of roses appears around her. Our hero is surprised and comments that her face seems to have gotten a little prettier than before. A system screen then appears, showing that she is now a level 1 zombie janitor, and our protagonist concludes that even though she didn't do anything, leveling up is always good. The red-haired zombie roars behind them, and Meng Shu sighs, saying it seems Vice Manager Meng didn't win the fight. Soon after, the creature drags the blonde guy outside, who now seems to have turned into a zombie as well. The system shows that his favorability with our hero is at 100% negative, and Meng Shu wonders if he needs to hate him that much. Faced with the situation, he decides to officially appoint Meng Xuanpeng as the company's security dog with a salary of 8,000, and the system confirms the employment. With that, our protagonist gives the first order to his new employee, which is to go up and carry Zhang Tao's body to bury it somewhere empty. After settling everything, he returns to the office with his axe in hand, feeling victorious. As soon as he enters, his employees welcome him back, and Shen Zhaozhao informs him that the 200 chicken strips he requested are ready. With a proud smile, the young woman explains that it was a team effort and asks if the department did well. Our hero then gives a thumbs up and says their work was excellent. Zhang Lunping and Shen Zhaozhao exchange a knowing look, showing the new team dynamic. Shen Zhaozhao tells Director Meng that they heard about Zhang Dao's passing and that their hearts are broken, then shows a small gift on behalf of the group. The little girl then shows a bunch of colorful paper cranes they folded for Grandpa Meng. Our protagonist thanks them for the gesture and says that Zhang Dao will surely be happy, and that he has already avenged his demise and brought a new employee for the security department. Zhang Lunping's wife praises her husband for knowing exactly what the boss likes, and he replies that it was easy because he just went with the flow. With a serious expression, the man defends his boss and says that Director Meng's thinking is just ahead of its time. Our hero then says that since everyone has been so thoughtful, he has a new task for them, which is to go down and get the water and fruit resources he looted. He distributes 5 fried chicken strips to each of them and warns that the cost will be deducted from their salaries. Then, our protagonist calls Shen Zhaozhao to go with him to get the rest of the chicken strips. Once in the hallway, the young woman calls for Director Meng somewhat hesitantly. She then grabs his arm, which surprises him, and leaves him confused by her action. With her hand stained with our hero's blood, she remains silent for a moment. He then tells her to prepare a simple contract to hire the lawyer Zhang for the company's new legal department. The young woman is confused and asks if he's talking about the same lawyer Zhang who turned into a zombie. Our protagonist confirms with a smile and says the company is growing and a legal department is indispensable. Back in the office, Shen Zhaozhao works on her computer while the new employee couple cleans the place. The employee couple watches Shen Zhaozhao from afar, and the woman comments that ever since the young woman came back from upstairs with Director Meng, she's been a bit spaced out. The employee is traumatized by recent memories of her boss discussing legal issues, selling fried chicken, and educating employees in a very peculiar way. Our protagonist then claps his hands to get everyone's attention and prepares to make an important announcement. With a smile, he introduces the new hire for the legal department, lawyer Zhang, who peeks through the door with a look of disgust. A system screen appears detailing that the new employee is a level 1 zombie and a level 4 lawyer, and that his presence in the company reduces compensation by 5 times. Our hero welcomes the new colleague and says they will work together to make the company grow, and the zombie lawyer just growls in response. Mingju is super satisfied with the new hire and thinks that the lawyer voluntarily accepted a pay cut and that his ability to reduce compensation was totally worth it. He then announces that the company's next task is to go down to the underground garage to transport the fruit they looted from the shop. The scene then changes to a dark, destroyed city street, showing the chaos of the apocalypse. A large white bus emerges from the rubble, its headlights on, cutting through the darkness of the night. Inside the vehicle, several survivors cry and lament as they are escorted by heavily armed soldiers. One of the survivors, a man named Wenyuan, feels relieved to have been rescued by the army and believes he wouldn't have survived the night alone. He looks at the other passengers and sighs, wondering how the world could have turned into hell overnight. Suddenly, a young man approaches him and introduces himself as Chen Bin, an architecture student who attended one of his lectures. The young man then leans in with a smile and tells Dean Wen that he doesn't live nearby. Wen Yuan shakes the young man's hand, confused by the situation. Suddenly, the young man's eyes glow red, and with a sinister smile, he reveals that he came there specifically to find him. With superhuman strength, he pulls the dean closer while the man screams for help. One of the soldiers hears the screams and runs to see what's happening. The young man threatens Wen Yuan and says that if he doesn't perish, the grand plan to purify the world will be difficult to achieve, which leaves the dean completely terrified. The soldier arrives and asks what the young man said with a suspicious expression. Two other soldiers approach and face the young man, ready to intervene. Without hesitation, the young man attacks one of the soldiers with a quick and precise blow. The other soldier reacts quickly and points his weapon at the aggressor. With a burst of fire, the soldier tries to stop the young man who is running towards him. Even after being hit by several shots, the young man continues to advance without slowing down. With impressive agility, he leaps over the bus seats. The bus driver is completely shocked to see this scene in the rearview mirror. Without wasting any time, the young man reaches the front of the vehicle and threatens the driver. With a single punch, he shatters the glass and hits the driver squarely. The impact of the punch shatters the windshield, and the driver passes out instantly. From there, the bus loses control, and Chen Bin jumps out while the soldiers unload their weapons on him. The shots hit the young man squarely, but he seems not to care about the injuries at all. Inside, one of the military personnel takes the wheel and tries to turn the bus sharply to stop the vehicle. Soon after, the same soldier jumps out of the moving bus to save himself from the crash. With a sharp maneuver, the bus overturns and slides down the street amidst sparks and smoke. Amidst the wreckage, Chen Bin's hand emerges, showing that he survived the crash without a problem. He then climbs onto the top of the overturned vehicle and wipes the corner of his mouth with a calm expression. One of the surviving soldiers gets up and points his weapon at the young man, ready to continue the fight. The military man identifies him as an antisocial esper and declares that he needs to be taken down immediately. A flashback reveals that they receive direct orders from their superiors to neutralize any antisocial espers they encountered. Determined to follow his orders, the soldier opens fire again on Chen Bin. With the new burst of fire, the young man is finally knocked off the top of the bus and falls to the ground. Even covered in injuries and bleeding heavily, Chen Bin starts to get up, as if nothing had happened. The soldier is completely shocked by the scene and can't believe the young man is still alive. The young man uses a briefcase as a makeshift shield, while more soldiers approach to provide backup. The military personnel continue to fire non-stop, determined to end this threat once and for all. Even with bullets piercing his body, Chen Bin's eyes glow red, and he advances without showing pain. He finally reaches one of the soldiers, who calls him a monster in terror and then attacks him without mercy. While the chaos unfolds, Wen Yuan takes advantage of the distraction to climb onto the top of the bus and escape. With an expression of pure terror, he looks at the battle scene, completely shocked. Without a second thought, the dean jumps to the other side of the vehicle to escape. From there, he runs through the dark, destroyed streets of the city, disappearing into the night. In a military command center, an officer reports that the rescue mission has failed, and Wen Yuan's whereabouts are unknown. They begin to discuss the attackers, who call themselves the Chosen. A high-ranking officer seems concerned and reveals that this is not the first attack, and that the safe zone has been suffering from disappearances and zombie infiltrations. It is revealed that they had already captured one of these individuals, who said that the zombie crisis is a test from a lord, and that their ritual involves ending the lives of others. The officer is enraged by the information and slams his fist on the table, saying that it's a cult. He reflects on the danger these people represent, as they seem normal, and remembers that the initial virus outbreak greatly weakened their military forces. Faced with the grave situation, he gives the difficult order to abandon some cities and retreat to shrink the perimeter of the safe zone. Exhausted, he leans back in his chair and sighs, concluding that at this moment, they can only solve one problem at a time. As night falls over the city and a red moon shines in the sky, the work at the Peace and Order Company is far from over. Our protagonist relaxes on the couch while the system congratulates him on completing another task with a perfect rating and officially names him the owner of a snack stall. With a thoughtful air, he reflects that since his customers gave him positive reviews, he will be gentler next time and won't let them suffer. But his kindness is short-lived, and with a furious expression, he yells at his employees, asking who gave a bad review the last time he sold fried chicken. The scene returns to normal, and Chen Zhaoxiao approaches our hero, who is now sitting on the couch with a serious expression. He complains that he can't make progress inside the building and that he still needs more lawyers, while the president of Wanxiang International is nowhere to be found. He concludes that he needs to go out for field work. The young woman hears the part about fieldwork and, with a flushed face, thinks that Director Meng's interested look was for her and wonders if that's appropriate. Without even noticing her reaction, our protagonist calls her by name and tells her to prepare the minutes, as he will be going on a mission the next day. To motivate the team, the scene shows a tray full of sausage skewers prepared for the meeting. Once in the conference room, he points to a globe and announces that to internationalize the company, they will adopt a joint working schedule between China and the United States. With a confident smile, he details the new work schedule, which starts at 8 in the morning New York time and ends at 5 in the afternoon, Beijing time. Shen Zhaozhao is completely shocked by the proposal and yells that he is too much of a capitalist. With the utmost calm, our hero ignores the protest and calls for a democratic vote, asking those who agree to raise their hand and that those who remain silent are also in agreement. The young woman stands up and protests, saying that it's not fair because, besides the 3 humans, all the other employees are zombies. With a mocking smile, our protagonist scolds her for going down the wrong path and demotes her to level K3, changing her position to acting team leader with no possibility of a salary reduction. The young woman is confused by the decision, and he explains that she needs to see the bigger picture and that the transfer to the K2 department is for her own growth. With tears in her eyes, Shen Zhaozhao realizes she is being manipulated and feels completely powerless. Our protagonist continues the meeting and announces that he will leave the next morning and that security will be handled by Qi Wei and Warrior Zhang, while the others should collect supplies. Zhang Lumping's wife praises Director Meng for being meticulous, and her husband agrees, saying that everything he says is pure wisdom and that they should write it all down. Shen Zhaozhao is disgusted by the brown-nosing and calls the 2 of them slaves for groveling so much. With a satisfied smile, our hero adjourns the meeting and tells everyone to get back to work. As soon as the others leave, the system notifies him that he has 14 experience points to distribute. Without a second thought, he decides to put all the points into his snack stall owner profession and levels up to 2, gaining more agility, constitution, and spirit. Sitting at his desk, he feels satisfied with his progress and motivates himself to keep evolving, even though it's getting harder. The next morning, a new day begins in the city, which now seems a bit quieter. Once outside the building, a protagonist prepares to leave for his field mission with his red car. Zhang Lumping's daughter approaches and hands him a paper crane, wishing him a safe trip. He pats the girl's head and tells her to study hard while Grandpa Meng is away. Suddenly, he turns to Shen Zhaozhao and appoints her as the new group education manager, responsible for giving classes to the children. The little girl is completely confused and wonders why she still needs to go to school in the middle of the end of the world. With a smile, our hero replies that as long as the universe doesn't explode, school won't close. So, he says goodbye and gets into his car while his employees wish him a good trip. The protagonist speeds through the streets and thinks about his plan, which is to check the safe zone and invite new lawyers to the company. With a satisfied smile, he concludes that his plan is perfect and worthy of his genius. Suddenly, the car shakes violently, and our hero is startled, not understanding what's happening. Looking ahead, he sees a man lying in the middle of the street, right in front of his car. The man then gets up and reveals himself to be a zombie with red eyes and a license plate stuck to his chest. Our protagonist is annoyed that his car was damaged and warns the zombie that he has chosen the wrong path. Without wasting time, he floors the accelerator, ready to finish off that creature. The car shoots forward at high speed and hits the monster squarely with a powerful impact. With the crash, the creature is sent flying, but it seems that wasn't enough to stop it. Our hero looks in the rearview mirror, and seeing that the zombie is not yet done for, he decides to use his Re-People ability. The system screen identifies it as a level 1 constitution-type mutant zombie. With an axe in hand, he gets out of the car and wonders if mutant zombies have become so common. He then faces the creature and yells at it to get lost, as he's not taking rideshare requests at the moment. Without any hesitation, our protagonist charges at the creature with his axe. He delivers a sequence of brutal blows against the monster. With a final move, he finishes off the creature once and for all. He then crouches next to the monster's remains and pretends to make a call, saying the situation isn't illegal and that he's hanging up. Sitting on the car's bumper, he raises a tire iron and tells the mutant zombie that since it has no money, it can pay the compensation with crystals. Suddenly, he notices someone approaching from behind. It was a blue-haired zombie whom our hero recognizes as Zheng Shaochu and comments on the coincidence of meeting again. The young woman seems confused by the greeting and just roars in response. With a smile, he invites her to work with him, saying she looks presentable enough. Our protagonist then turns his attention back to the monster's remains and comments that this creature's head was much tougher than the last one he faced. From within the formless mass, he pulls out a yellow evolution crystal. The system informs him that it's a constitution-type crystal and that there's a 70% chance of turning into a zombie upon consuming it. He makes a disgusted face and says that only an idiot would eat that with such a high risk. The scene then shows our protagonist and Zhang Xiaochu standing in front of the car. The young woman stares at the crystal in his hand with a look of pure desire. Our protagonist then reflects on the difference between the gray-eyed and red-eyed zombies, but his attention soon turns to the dirt on his new companion. From there, he uses the system to buy a bottle of mineral water. With a snap of his fingers, the drink appears in his hand, ready to be used. With a charming smile, he approaches the young woman and starts cleaning her face, saying that as an employee of peace and order, she needs to maintain a good image. He carefully continues the cleaning, wiping the dirt from her arms and showing a more gentlemanly side. After the cleanup, he notices that her clothes don't match her new position in the company and suggests she should change her outfit. Soon after, our hero gets all embarrassed and says he's a gentleman, while the system warns him that taking off a girl's clothes without permission is harassment. Annoyed by the interruption, he argues with the system, which corrects his logic and states that silence means consent. The protagonist is completely confused, thinking there's nothing wrong with personally helping a subordinate get dressed. Without wasting any more time on arguments, he shatters the window of a nearby clothing store. Once inside the store, he helps his new employee choose a new outfit, saying they are a big company and need to take care of their image. The young woman, now with a new look and a different hairstyle, just roars in response, not understanding the situation. Our protagonist becomes thoughtful and says he forgot a detail and can't figure out the right sizes. Suddenly, he unlocks the gentleman's secret achievement, gaining 5,000 in cash and half a spirit point, but his thoughts are interrupted by screams for help from outside. Looking at the reflection in the window, he comments that probably someone else got bitten, and that they can't save everyone, while Zhang Xiaochu just roars in agreement. On second thought, he says there's a medical university nearby and that the students there could be useful, suggesting they take a look. Then, a protagonist points in the direction of the screams as a horde of zombies runs past on the street. With that, the two walk through the destroyed city streets towards the source of the noise. As they approach, they find a group of survivors cornered by a crowd of zombies in a large hall. From a distance, our hero observes the scene and realizes that one of the survivors was attacked by a human, not a zombie, and concludes that there's some infighting going on in the group. With a serious look, he turns to his new companion and tells her to wait for his command to act. Without hesitation, our protagonist sneaks up behind one of the survivors who has his back to him. With his axe in hand, he prepares and charges at the purple-haired guy. He then delivers a clean strike to the man's back, who doesn't even notice the attack. Soon after, our hero joins the fight and helps the other survivors deal with the horde of zombies. A short time later, the battle ends, and the group of survivors stands amidst the bodies of the defeated creatures. One of the men complains to the purple-haired leader for being bitten even though he's one of the chosen, and the leader replies that it's just to eliminate the useless ones. Suddenly, the leader notices the presence of our protagonist, who is calmly eating a skewer. The system then activates and identifies the targets as genetic enhancers and psychopathic killers, and our hero wonders if there's anyone else there. With a friendly smile, he tells them not to worry, as he is also one of the chosen and was sent by the Lord while offering a sausage skewer for 3 yuan. The purple-haired leader approaches and says that our protagonist doesn't have the air of one of the chosen, but our hero retorts that the Lord sent him with a purpose. Without even giving time for a response, our protagonist unleashes a powerful kick and lands a direct hit on another member of the group. The leader is completely shocked by the scene and yells, calling our hero a beast and asking why he took out the guy. With the bloody axe in his hand, our protagonist responds with a confident smile and says that it was just an arrangement by the Lord. The purple-haired guy asks if the MC isn't involved, because if so, he'd count as one of them. In response, our hero sarcastically asks how his parents met, wondering if they were introduced by an obstetrician. The group leader is completely confused at first. Already out of patience, Mengshu raises his axe, questioning why the guy has so many questions and saying it's incredibly annoying. Consumed by fury, the purple-haired guy screams at the top of his lungs that he's going to wipe him off the face of the earth. With his sharp claws, he rushes forward to attack. Suddenly, he skids to a halt, stopping his charge. In a swift change of heart, the man starts running in the opposite direction while the MC asks why he's fleeing if he wanted to take him out. Without wasting a moment, our hero orders Little Jong to intercept the runaway, and she promptly lands right in front of him. The purple-haired guy is in shock when he sees a zombie and realizes that this guy can actually command these creatures. He soon notices his situation is dire, as the wound from the axe was poisoned. The zombie then lets out a roar and knocks the enemy to the ground with a powerful blow. At that moment, the man's eyes begin to throb intensely. The infection quickly takes over his system, transforming his gaze. Finally, he lets out an agonizing scream as the transformation completes and he turns into a zombie. The MC's zombie companion observes her new prey up close. She cracks a terrifying smile, looking quite excited about the situation. Crouching next to the newly turned man, Meng-shu asks where their base is. He then remembers a detail and offers a fried sausage, mentioning the Big Bone restaurant. Without any hesitation, he smashes the skewer into the zombie's face, demanding payment of 15 yuan immediately. With the space covered in gunk, the poor guy tries to explain that he really doesn't have any money. The MC then holds up a few bills, saying he has principles and that since the customer ate, the service has been rendered. The tension in the air rises as the sausage is still in the zombie's mouth. The next second, a brutal slash slices everything in half. With a dark smile, our hero asks if the customer was satisfied with the quality of the service. The man's head rolls to the side, showing that the collection was successful. Just then, the system announces that the service industry model achievement has been updated. He then rummages through the dropped belongings and finds 2 watermelon knives, a bone cleaver, and a custom short knife. Thoughtfully, he concludes it wasn't a bad haul and plans to use the weapons to equip his zombie employees, even if it's just to scare people. Satisfied with the outcome, he gets up and starts walking through the debris with the axe on his shoulder. The MC continues walking calmly through the hall. Suddenly, he looks back and sees his subordinate crouching down, fiddling with the body of the decapitated enemy. The girl pulls a glowing crystal from the corpse and holds it with fascination. Our hero immediately runs to her, demanding she spit it out before she swallows the rock. A chase begins, with him asking if she stopped listening to the president and telling her to stop at once. The chase continues as he orders her to stop in the name of the group's president, warning that if she keeps it up, she'll get no more crystals in the future. The heavy footsteps finally cease as they both decide to stop. The two are out of breath, trying to catch their wind after the little marathon. With a serious posture, Meng-shu scolds her, saying it's a shame that a level 15 executive can't even say Roger that, but acknowledges that at least it proves zombies can evolve. The scene changes to the exterior of the previously mentioned restaurant. Inside, a few thugs are playing cards, commenting that as soon as Brother Wang gets back, they'll definitely get a cut. The mood is all about gambling, and one of them announces that the winner gets first dibs on the girl trapped in the kitchen. Footsteps echo from outside, making the red-haired guy tell everyone to be quiet because someone is coming. Without wasting time, he orders his companions to grab their knives and get ready. The door opens, revealing our MC and his zombie as he cheerfully asks if the 3 of them are interested in some fried sausages, even offering a real estate discount and a free parking spot. The thugs laugh at the situation, thinking it's great that fresh goods have shown up at their door, and tell him to hand over the food. With his classic salesman smile, the MC informs them he doesn't do tabs and asks them to pay first. Annoyed by his audacity, the man charges with a knife, cursing and threatening to slice him in half if he says another word. Our hero's expression changes completely, and he asks in a grim tone if they're trying to dine and dash. In a swift motion, he swings the bloody cleaver. The blow lands squarely on the thug, ending the threat in the blink of an eye. Standing in a pool of blood, Meng-shu sighs in frustration, complaining that there's no one left and wondering how he's supposed to hit his sales quota. He then turns his head to the 2 survivors, who are trembling in fear, and says it's all right because there are still 2 customers left. In a terrifying manner, he pressures the guys, offering them the fried sausage and asking if they prefer the food or buying a property. Completely terrified, the 2 scream in desperation, agreeing to buy anything. Shortly after, the focus shifts to the heavy double doors leading to the back of the restaurant. Upon entering, they are met with a macabre scene full of skeletons hanging from chains. Faced with the horror of the place, the MC comments on how disgusting it is to make sacrifices to become one of the chosen, calling it all pure insanity. Further ahead, they find a man tied upside down from the ceiling and a young woman on the floor. The system immediately identifies the man with glasses as the infectious disease professor who is currently unconscious. The girl tied up in the corner is identified by the system as the student Jong Keen, and she is crying in fear. Meanwhile, outside, zombies begin to violently bang against the restaurant's glass windows. The rope holding the professor is cut, lowering him to the floor. The president of the Peace and Order Company orders his employee to go down and distribute flyers and to eliminate anyone who refuses to buy a house. The zombie lets out a roar, confirming she understood the mission, and gets to work. Our hero crouches down next to the frightened student and offers her a tissue to wipe her tears. Back in his salesman mode, he asks if she has money, offering 2 skewers for 3 yuan or the chance to buy an apartment. The young woman tries to answer between sobs, but only manages to make sounds, unable to form a word as the sausage is held close to her face. Believing he's nailing it, Mangshu comments with a smug smile that she must be moved to have been saved by a hero and is surely going to fall for him. In his heartthrob pose, he extends the food, asking if she wants him to feed it to her. The student just stares at the sausage in complete silence, not understanding what is happening. She repeats the same strange sounds, making the MC finally realize she is deaf and mute, and he apologizes for the mistake. Awkward about the gaffe, he hands her the food, telling her to eat slowly while he goes to check on the professor. He grabs the old man by the shoulders and starts shaking him, trying to wake him up. Slowly, the old professor opens his eyes, letting out a confused groan as he wakes from his faint. With the space covered in blood, the MC tries to wake the old professor. In a loud and sudden tone, he blurts out a random word, seeming very excited. The old man jolts awake with a gasp, still trying to make sense of the situation. Mangshu gets a sweat drop on his face and wonders to himself if he really looks that scary. He observes the 2 survivors cowering in fear and thinks that, being in the medical field, they should have a lot more courage. Frustrated, our hero sits on the floor, hugging his knees, and tries to convince himself that he is a righteous MC and a respected hero who descended from the heavens to save them. He soon deduces that the girl's crying was out of pure joy, and the old man's fainting was caused by being overwhelmed with emotion. With a snap of his fingers, he declares that this is the perfect explanation and that now all the pieces fit together. With an imposing posture, he tells them not to get too excited, as justice lives in the hearts of the people, and formally introduces himself as the president of the Peace and Order Group. At that moment, he notices little Jang in the hallway and praises the employee's efficiency for delivering the flyers so quickly. The student looks at the blood-soaked creature and deduces in terror that it can't be human. With complete calm, the MC tells her not to be scared, as the zombie is just an excellent employee of the company. He then asks for the young woman's name but quickly slaps his own forehead, remembering she was mute. To his surprise, the girl introduces herself, stuttering as Jong Kin, and he celebrates the fact that she can speak. Shortly after, at our hero's command, the student slaps the professor's face a few times to fully wake him up to discuss real estate sales. Without wasting time, Mangshu shoves a real estate flyer right in the old man's face, who desperately asks what he's trying to do. The salesman mode activates again, and he offers a premium apartment for just 525,000, with the bonus of a full-time job upon purchase of the unit. Confused by the absurdity of the situation, the old man asks his student if he's dreaming, and she confirms that all of this is very real. The president then turns to the girl and offers her an internship, informing her that he has just decided to create a medical department in the company. The 2 survivors feel a chill run down their spines and freeze in fear before the blood-covered man. Ignoring the tense atmosphere, our hero tells them that if they buy the unit, everything will be settled, and invites them to the sales office to sign the contract. The professor tries to make an excuse, saying he left his card at home, but the MC counters that he only distributes flyers and that sales are handled elsewhere. With no way out, the poor man just stammers his agreement. As they climb the stairs to leave the basement, the old man politely asks if President Meng could provide them with some weapons for self-defense. The MC's paranoid response is to question why they want to walk in front and if they happen to be spies from a rival company. He accuses them of trying to make him pay for employee life insurance before they've even signed their employment contracts. The professor and the student look at each other, completely shocked and unable to process the twisted logic of his reasoning. With his axe in hand, Mangshu decides they are ready and orders everyone to start moving. The student just watches the scene and begins to doubt her rescuer's mental stability, feeling like she's about to go crazy herself. To clear a path, the MC shatters the glass door of the building with a few rough swings and then immediately praises the excellent quality of the material. Worried about the dangers outside, the young woman suggests they sneak out through the back window. Our hero immediately rejects the idea, stating that he has lived an honest and open life and has no reason to scurry around like a rat. With a powerful kick, he finishes breaking the door frame and clears a path to the street. As soon as he steps outside, he faces the horde of creatures and announces that the restaurant is closed for the day. Pointing his weapon at the monsters, he authoritatively demands that everyone take a real estate flyer. Immediately after, he tosses a stack of papers into the air, letting them rain down on the undead. Without waiting for the horde's reaction, Mungshu charges forward furiously, wielding his axe amidst the falling fires. A bloodbath begins as he cuts the zombies to pieces with swift and precise strikes. At the end of the massacre, he remains standing with a grim face, completely drenched in the blood of his enemies. After witnessing that display of brute force, the professor and the student come to the definitive conclusion that this guy cannot be human. The group finally arrives at the commercial building that houses the real estate sales office. The interior of the place is completely destroyed, with debris scattered all over the condominium model. Walking calmly through the ruined lobby, the MC asks aloud if anyone is there. Silence dominates the environment as the two survivors continue to follow his steps with great caution. Suddenly, a system screen appears, confirming that the task of acting as a realtor has been successfully completed, granting him a new title. During a break, the professor washes his face in a makeshift sink to try to recover from the trauma he's experienced. As soon as he finishes, Mungshu appears with a smile on his face, holding out the property sales contract. The old man takes the papers with a defeated expression and agrees to sign, asking if this is really how the process works. A glowing success notification appears above the MC, confirming the finalization of the absurd deal. He checks the system message, realizing it was the reward for the temporary distribution mission, and celebrates the pleasant surprise. The professor looks over the sheets and finds it all very informal, but soon concludes that it doesn't matter in the middle of the apocalypse. Our hero puts away the documents and announces he has other business to attend to and will take them with him when he's done. Worried, the old man asks if they should go back to the restaurant or wait there. The president answers that they will return to the restaurant and he will drop them off at home as soon as he gets off work. The two survivors are full of doubts, not understanding the concept of punching a clock and office hours at the end of the world. Looking out the glass window, the MC explains that he's working a side gig as a realtor and tells the two to find a corner to wait in. He then positions himself at the office entrance, staring at the busy street outside. A crowd of undead has already gathered outside, drawn by the noise. Without a shred of sanity, Mungshu throws dozens of contracts into the air, ordering the horde to sign the paperwork. In a fit of corporate madness, he grabs the creatures by their clothes and shoves pens into their hands, screaming at them to sign as the system congratulates him for selling 2 apartments. The president checks the effects of his new title, noting that the friendliness of potential clients increases when it's equipped. He soon unlocks the hidden achievement for the first title, receiving money and experience points from the system. To focus on his evolution, he decides to allocate 12 points to his intern clerk class. The notice confirms the level up and attribute increase as he finally remembers he had almost forgotten his new clients. With a serene look, he informs the two that it's time to go and that he's sending them back to the restaurant. The group walks under the moonlight through the dark streets, and the MC instructs them that if he doesn't return in 3 days, they are free to go wherever they please. The professor whispers to the student that perhaps President Mung is actually a kind person, and they just misjudged his mental state. The walk continues in total silence down the city's debris-filled avenue. Suddenly, a red-eyed zombie appears, panting, in a dark alley. The creature snaps its head around upon sensing someone's approach. A spray of blood splatters on the walls, staining the night scene a scarlet hue. Our hero appears breathing calmly, holding his axe after delivering a lethal blow to the monster's head. He crouches next to the corpse and observes that the infected in this region are of a very high level. While examining the body, he notices a bullet wound on the creature's shoulder and deduces that the army most likely passed through here. The scene then cuts to the grim entrance of a building staircase, leaving a sense of mystery in the air. Inside a dark office, the MC instructs Little Jong to explore the area and attack any zombie she finds. He then notices two red eyes glowing in the darkness of the room. Suddenly, a swift shadow flies past him. With nimble reflexes, our hero raises his axe just in time to block a brutal blow that even sends sparks flying. The impact is so strong that he gets pushed back, sliding across the floor. His eyes widen in surprise at the creature's physical strength. A female zombie in business attire charges furiously at him. Noticing the name tag on her chest, Mangshu realizes she is a lawyer named Chi Liao. Without wasting time, he counters the attack, delivering a powerful axe swing. At that moment, the system identifies the enemy as a level 5 strength-type mutant zombie. For the president, this explains the power of her strikes, but he's still confident she's no match for him. Little Jang appears, walking slowly behind the new threat. The guy sighs upon realizing the blue-haired girl is just drooling over the evolution crystals in his pocket. Focused on business, he decides to recruit the lawyer, thinking of the advantage of having undead employees working for free all day with a starting salary of 15,000. However, when he pulls up the recruitment panel, he's shocked to see that the woman's salary expectation is 80,000 a month. Even though he finds the amount absurd, he accepts the hire, stating that a good horse needs a good saddle. The system's screen confirms the success, revealing the new employee's hidden desires. Analyzing her demands, the MC comments that she's pretty greedy for having 4 requests. Without any warning, the blue-haired zombie slaps the newcomer right across the face. The blow sends the lawyer flying back, causing her to fall onto one of the office desks. Annoyed with the commotion, Mangshu rushes over with his weapon in hand, asking why they can't just get along. He swings his weapon, warning that becoming a company employee doesn't grant immunity from getting a beatdown. With incredible agility, the red-haired woman blocks the axe handle with just her bare hand. An imaginary light bulb appears over the guy's head as he gets a brilliant idea. He starts bombarding the lawyer, asking if it's against the law for a boss to refuse payment in cash. An awkward silence fills the room as the newcomer just holds the weapon without reacting. The president displays an expression of pure malice and confidence. Without giving her a chance to respond, he follows up with a series of bizarre legal questions about rewards for lost items and refunds for funeral money. Miraculously, the insane questions make the lawyer's friendship level jump straight to 80 points. Satisfied with the result, he points out that since she can't answer, maybe it's time to ask him for help. The score hits the maximum limit and triggers a hidden reward that grants a charm bonus capable of enchanting any female creature for a full day. Ignoring the notification, he officially appoints her as the manager of the company's legal department. The system confirms the team-building progress as the lawyer affectionately hugs him, leaving him completely confused. Soon, little Jang also joins the hug, squeezing the boss between the two under the magical effect of the charm. Our MC understands that the bizarre situation is the bonus's fault, and starts to wonder if the power would affect other infected on the streets. The 2 employees remain stuck to him with hearts floating in the air, while the system's timer shows the remaining time. Analyzing the rules, he concludes that for 24 hours, no undead woman will be able to resist his magnetism. Stretching in the empty lobby, he's thankful that the power only increases their clinginess, instead of making them hungrier for human flesh. Sitting on a makeshift bench, he laments that this ability didn't appear before the end of the world, so he could have lived like a soap opera heartthrob. The 2 subordinates continued to stare at him with love-struck eyes, waiting for more attention. Exhausted, he lies down to sleep and tells them not to fall too deeply in love because girls need to maintain their purity. A short time later, he opens his eyes, feeling a strange movement in his resting space. The lawyer and the blue-haired girl are already in the same bed with him, hugging him like he's a teddy bear. With no energy to fight their clinginess, he simply accepts the affection and tries to go back to sleep. The silence of the early morning is suddenly broken by loud banging coming from the building's main door. Annoyed at being woken up, he sits up in bed, complaining loudly about not getting a minute of peace. With his axe in hand, he sleepily walks to the lobby to check the source of the irritating noise. On the other side of the glass doors, a lone infected thrashes about, trying to force its way inside. Noticing the intruder is a male zombie, the president grumbles, thinking the situation is a huge waste of time. Before he can act, the new legal manager steps forward with a terrifying expression. With a single devastating punch, Liao smashes the monster's head against the glass, splattering blood everywhere. Watching the gratuitous brutality, the guy breaks into a cold sweat and comments that he prefers to win others over with virtue, even nicknaming his axe just that. The group returns inside the building as he orders them to go back to sleep and lock the door properly. The eventful night finally passes, giving way to the morning light illuminating the facade of the commercial office. In the men's restroom, the boss's privacy is violated by the two zombies who are peeking through a crack in the wall. He remains standing with his back to them, trying to ignore the uncomfortable presence of his love-struck employees. Losing his patience, he turns his head and ironically asks how long they plan on watching him use the restroom. Checking the panel, he notes that there are still 14 long hours of the bonus effect left and sighs in frustration. Giving up on having any peace, he drags the two of them out, telling them to stop staring and get to work. Out on the street, amidst the crowd of infected, the MC throws a bunch of real estate flyers into the air, starting the workday. In the middle of the horde, he orders the girls to stop their assault for a moment so he can hand out the papers, otherwise there will be no hugs at night. The two subordinates freeze instantly, promptly obeying the boss's threat. To encourage good behavior, he promises he'll let them do whatever they want with him when they get back home. The promise sends the undead into a frenzy, emitting an aura full of sparkling little hearts. Without losing focus on sales, he shoves a paper in some random zombie's face, offering an excellent real estate opportunity. The apocalyptic realtor continues his walk, chaotically scattering flyers across the destroyed landscape. Arriving at a store window, he knocks on the glass, letting the people inside know he has promotional materials for them. From inside, a small group of survivors observes the guy's threatening silhouette through the dirty glass. The three humans huddled on the floor tremble in terror, thinking they've been discovered by a bloodthirsty lunatic. One of the men tells everyone to stay still, hoping the stranger will give up and leave. However, the only woman in the group begins to feel the effects of the charm bonus, finding the guy handsome and enchanting. Completely seduced by the magical power, she gets up and waves, drawing the MC's attention to their hiding spot. Ignoring her colleague's panic, she opens the door and walks out towards the real estate salesman. The president flashes a radiant smile, as the system indicates that his super charm is strongly radiating through the area. Bewitched by his enhanced beauty, the survivor blushes violently, holding her own face like a teenager in love. The scared guy reveals he saw some bodies with bullet wounds outside and asks if the MC knows what the army was doing there. He continues his explanation, saying that 4 or 5 buses came to evacuate civilians in batches but ended up being overturned by mutant zombies along the way. With a friendly smile, the president thanks him for the information and points out that it doesn't really help his current situation. As he turns his back, he says he won't bother the group anymore and tells them to stay safe if they can. Back on the streets, the guy comments to his employees that handing out flyers during the day is no problem because at night they can be more reserved since people are watching. Immediately after, the system displays a notification confirming the completion of the flyer delivery task and awarding the cash and point rewards. To celebrate the victory, our hero sees his level rise to Flyer Distributor level 5 and President level 2, gaining the Danger Perception ability. He checks the attribute screen, confirming the evolution points as a golden aura of light envelops him. The panel suddenly flashes and activates a new mission, ordering him to help the 83 homeless people on the street to receive more status. Shocked by the high number, the guy looks around and realizes, with indignation, that the system is counting the undead as homeless people. With a twisted, heroic stance, he declares that he can't stand to see beggars suffer because he's a good-hearted person and decides to eliminate all of them. Without wasting time, he orders the team to advance as he wields his contracts and prepares for combat. Manager Liao obeys instantly and smashes an infected's face with a brutal blow, clearing the way. Little Jiang also joins the carnage, delivering a powerful punch that sends another monster flying. From their hiding spot, the survivors watch the massacre completely terrified, reaching the obvious conclusion that the guy outside is an absolute lunatic. Amidst the blood, the MC raises his hands, arguing with the system that taking them out is also a way of driving away the homeless, and asks if the AI thinks he's playing some kind of tower defense game with plants. To his surprise, the floating notice shows that the mission count has indeed decreased, and he celebrates the discovery with a smile. Dominated by his insane corporate logic, he decrees with a grim face that he will end them all just because he can't stand to see them suffer on the streets. The relentless slaughter continues with the lawyer slicing up monsters on the asphalt with extremely fast movements. Right beside her, the blue-haired zombie pierces another creature's chest using only the brute force of her own hands. With the red trail in the air, the employee duo clears the area under the chaotic and frantic command of their boss. The system announces the perfect completion of the task, granting points and the bizarre title of Charity Pioneer to our blood-soaked hero. Outside the building, the survivors are dumbfounded, commenting on how those 3 people decimated dozens of enemies as if they were made of paper. The guy leaning against the glass tries to analyze the situation, stating that the group's mental state is not normal and that they just seem to go from one target to the next. The 3 humans look at each other confused as the stranger fought with fury while simultaneously muttering about handing out flyers with no apparent sense. Far away, a massive overturned bus rests in the middle of the avenue, surrounded by destruction and smoke. As they approach the wrecked vehicle, the MC and his secretaries notice the marks of what seems to have been a true war zone. To get attention and check the area, he starts banging on the metal body with the handle of his weapon, creating a deafening noise. With a wicked smile on his face, he swings the axe enthusiastically, waiting for a reaction. Immediately, an infected soldier emerges, screaming from the wreckage, shattering what was left of the window glass. After quickly neutralizing the threat, the guy searches the uniformed corpse's pockets for any useful loot. He celebrates his good luck upon finding a perfectly loaded black pistol among the deceased's equipment. During his inspection of the overturned interior, he laments not finding any rifles, deducing that someone must have already cleaned out the main cargo. Faced with the several bodies of soldiers scattered on the floor, he sighs and decides he will give a proper farewell to these brave heroes. He takes one of his real estate flyers and lights it with a lighter, preparing a makeshift crematorium for the soldiers. With a serene look, he drops the flaming paper onto the debris, which is already soaked in a highly flammable fluid. A huge bonfire rises, illuminating the destroyed scene as the president watches the fire consume everything. He mutters that ashes must return to ashes and that turning to dust is much better than rotting and attacking people. Facing his subordinates, he sets the next objective, ordering a hunt for the mutant creature that caused the deadly accident. The 2 undead women take off at a sprint, immediately obeying the new company directive. The trio leaves the burning scene, letting the large bus be consumed by the intense heat. The fire continues to crackle violently, swallowing the memories of that brutal ambush. Suddenly, a yellow notification appears on the panel announcing that a high-level medical talent has appeared within a 3-kilometer radius. Surprised by the unexpected information, our hero stops in his tracks and analyzes the variables of the situation. He decides to stick to the original plan of hunting the main mutant, but informs the team they will deal with the doctor if they run into him along the way. With a bored sigh, the guy mutters that this detour might be a drag, but he presses on. The once quiet street now reveals itself as a long field of piled-up cars in the intense afternoon light. The group moves with agility, stepping over several mangled corpses that dot the hot asphalt. A path of red squares appears on the ground, projected by the system, guiding him directly to the new employee's location. Excited about the GPS, he informs the girls that since their new co-worker has appeared so close, they should go and welcome her. He picks up his pace, focused on the main avenue, faithfully following the luminous path on the map. The final destination reveals itself as a giant structure that appears to be a hospital complex. With a confident smile on his face, he readies himself for another round of forced recruitment. He slides his shoes on the cement, stopping abruptly at the main entrance with a breathtaking heroic pose. The intruder's presence immediately attracts the attention of the entire horde that was freely wandering the medical courtyard. The common infected begin to snarl and drool, turning their bodies towards the newly arrived main course. Atop a parked ambulance, a lone figure in a lab coat stands out, commanding the crowd. Without hesitation, our leader activates the status reading ability, focusing his eyes on the superior creature. The panel reveals that the old female doctor is a mental-type mutant zombie that has already reached a dangerous level 6. Sensing the invasion, the creature raises its arms and lets out a disturbing shriek to alert its minions. Despite the high-pitched roar, the guy instructs manager Liao and little Jiang to keep up with his attack pace. Analyzing the stats, he deduces the old woman must be from the psychiatry field due to her mutant type and jokes about her mental health. With a hand on his chin, he reflects that his spirit attribute has always been his lowest, and having a talent like this in the company would improve business. He shouts directly at the doctor that joining his organization is tough, and that they do a lot of taking out during work hours. Since the motivational speech has no effect, he decides to test his new toy and releases the gun's safety. With a firm stance, he aims the pistol right at the old woman's head, who continues to scream about the rescue van. His finger squeezes the trigger, but the machine only lets out a dry, disappointing click. A drop of sweat runs down the president's face as he realizes the gun pathetically jammed right at showtime. An ironic warning alert floats on the screen, accusing him of needlessly disturbing the zombie grandma. Instead of advancing, the old infected woman begins to exude a pink aura full of sparkling hearts, completely affected by the guy's magnetism. While their leader falls head over heels, the other normal monsters in the courtyard charge furiously at the company group. The horde desperately throws itself towards the entrance, wanting to tear apart the one who seduced their leader. His eyes widen as he finally understands that the super charm bonus is still active and that the old mutant woman has also fallen under its spell. Noticing their new love rival, the two employees step in front of him with dark, superpossessed glares. Without waiting for any orders, little Jang and the lawyer dash forward in an absolute rage, ready to annihilate anyone who gets near their beloved boss. A red-eyed zombie charges furiously towards the group. With an agile move, Manager Liao intercepts the monster, delivering a swift strike that tears through the air. Positioned right behind, President Mengshu fires his pistol repeatedly without showing any mercy. The precise shots burst the head of a green-haired infected, which collapses to the ground. Firm on the trigger, he continues the rain of bullets, focused on clearing the path. The old zombie doctor gets hit directly in the right eye, sending blood flying everywhere. The violent impact brutally throws another creature against the side of a parked ambulance. Holding his red-stained axe, the guy observes the rest of the horde with a tired expression. He raises the bloody blade, asserting his belief that everyone there was once a good citizen. Like a generous boss, he offers the monsters 1 minute to choose between leaving or ending up like their fallen comrades. A dark smile forms on the MC's face as he announces the countdown is about to begin. Lacking the patience for delays, he gives up on the promised time and jumps straight to the final seconds. The axe comes down with absurd speed, slicing through the air towards the nearest enemy's neck. The blonde zombie's head flies through the air, separated from its body in a single, clean, and brutal strike. Observing the carnage, he asks the system if these infected count as homeless and if sending them home would earn him a charity reward for his good heart. The one-eyed doctor lets out a shrill scream, trying to intimidate the intruder. With the axe resting on his shoulder, the guy questions why she's screaming like that and if she thinks she can sing well. Declaring himself the true king of music in the region, he tells the old woman to go to heck. A crushing blow hits the mutant's head, throwing her violently onto the asphalt. The creature finally stops moving, silenced forever. The system rewards his effort by giving him a basic spirit-type evolution crystal. Mengshu analyzes the glowing stone in his hand alongside his blood-soaked employees. Bothered by his own filth, he grumbles about the hassle of having to change clothes after every battle. He wonders how other survivors deal with it and if they carry a whole wardrobe around. Determined to solve the problem, he informs the girls that he's going to take this opportunity to do some shopping. The group approaches a luxurious high-end shopping center with intact glass doors. The MC takes a deep breath and marvels that expensive places are so different. Even the air smells fancy. Walking through the empty stores, he notices the complete absence of salespeople and concludes he can pick up a few souvenirs. A thick gold chain catches his eye, and he estimates its value in the hundreds of thousands of yuan. Although the system doesn't account for cash, he puts the jewelry around his neck and calls his employees to enjoy the company perks. With his arms around his two employees, he suggests they go up to wash off and work with a clean appearance. The trio goes up the stopped escalators and enters the men's and women's clothing section. The president's eyes sparkle as he focuses on a mannequin wearing a very elegant trenchcoat-style jacket. Excited by the find, he praises the designer piece's design. Without wasting time, he rips off his own stained shirt, showing off his toned physique. The new jacket slides perfectly onto his arms, creating a modern and intimidating look. To test the outfit's practicality, he makes a swift motion, cutting through the air with his axe. Satisfied with the mobility, he concludes that the jacket doesn't hinder his attacks and allows for easy weapon drawing. Securing the team's uniform, he hands new outfits to the two undead women. The girls sit on the store floor while the boss begins the process of cleaning and changing their clothes. With great care, he adjusts the straps of the white blouse on little Jiang. The guy's face is close to the blue-haired zombies, showing unusual concentration. Breaking the silence, he jokes that a professional stylist would charge a lot for this service and that his charity knows no bounds. The young infected woman just stares at her boss with her red, empty eyes as he adjusts her necklace. Finishing the first makeover, he turns to manager Liao and tells her it's her turn to cooperate. With the transformation complete, the trio shows off their new high-end outfits under the store's spotlights. Relaxing in a chair, the MC states that this look is perfect for a successful business elite like himself. In the palm of his hand, he analyzes the colorful crystals obtained in the last few fights. He mentally reviews that the blue stone came from the doctor, the red one from the bodyguard, and the yellow one from the punk, while the green one became Little Zhang's snack. Focused on the future, he decides he needs to plan his steps carefully so that his merits turn him into a true Sing. A furry shadow leaps from the darkness, abruptly interrupting his thoughts of grandeur. Instinctively, the guy delivers a violent kick into the air, sending the creature flying as he tries to figure out what attacked him. The animal hits a glass display case hard, cracking the structure. The fluffy dog gets up, growling aggressively, its red eyes glowing in the gloom. Surprised by the discovery, he comments that the mutt keeps barking non-stop even after being infected. Looking for an advantage, he activates the system's ability to read the mutant dog's stats. A red error panel blocks his view, informing him that the target is not human and the ability is invalid. A drop of sweat runs down the president's face as he realizes the flaw in his technological advantage. Far from feeling fear, a lunatic smile spreads across his face as he tightens his grip on the axe handle. Excited by the novelty, he tells the little beast that things are getting more fun and that he's never dealt with this model of enemy before. The zombie dog charges furiously, drooling and snarling towards the team. Without retreating a single millimeter, Mangshu raises his left hand and orders the animal to stop because now it's his turn. In a fluid, rehearsed motion, he draws the pistol from his waist with impressive speed. His finger squeezes the trigger, firing directly at the beast mid-somersault. The bullets tear through the fluffy dog's body, neutralizing the threat before it even hits the ground. Blowing the smoke from the gun barrel, the shooter scoffs, saying he might miss from 10 paces away, but never from less than 5 meters. To make sure the job is done, he aims at the fallen body and fires 2 more shots, for good measure. The system notifies him of the acquisition of a genetic evolution crystal, advising not to use it on humans, but as a dog treat. Observing the purple stone in his hand, he agrees with the interface's culinary suggestion. He decides to save the item to feed the security dog he left guarding the company base. The sun rises the next day, illuminating the desolate ruins of the destroyed city. The group walks calmly down the potholed street, with the 2 employees carrying several bags of supplies. Confident in his own power, the boss comments that with this combat strength, he could easily survive in any survival game. The team's footsteps echo on the cracked asphalt in the quiet of the apocalyptic morning. A lone figure piques the MC's curiosity, spotted sitting on the steps of a dark alley. With a friendly smile, the president extends a 5 yuan note to the shadowy figure, suggesting the guy buy himself something nice. The creature's red eyes glow intensely as it focuses on the offered money. Without showing any gratitude, the infected lunges fiercely at its benefactor. Ming Shu doesn't hesitate and brings his axe down with full force. The blade cuts the monster in half, splattering blood as the guy warns that damaging money is a crime and tells the mutt to be more careful in the next life. Clean after the takedown, he praises the waterproof jacket for protecting him from the mess and decides he'll get a few more from that brand later. The group continues their walk through the deserted streets, noticing that the enemy density has dropped drastically in the region. He deduces that the old mutant doctor must have been luring the infected away from there. Just ahead, a luxurious white car catches the MC's attention, who judges the vehicle to be in perfect working condition. A well-aimed swing of the axe shatters the driver's side window. He unlocks the door and enthusiastically calls his employees, promising to take them for a spin. The vehicle speeds through the abandoned streets, cutting through the city at high speed. The sun illuminates the destroyed landscape as the car passes through high-end residential neighborhoods. Admiring the mansions around him, he comments that the place is grand and promises to buy a house there in the future. Immediately, the system panel glows, activating a property purchase mission, which makes the boss break into a cold sweat and grumble that he was just kidding. Annoyed by the artificial provocation, he accuses the interface of looking down on single people. He soon changes his mind, admitting that everyone likes having a house and a car, but points out that he prefers a Lamborghini over this model. The vehicle parks smoothly in front of a huge luxury mansion. The guy scratches his chin, confused by the silence, and wonders if the cleaning crew in this fancy district still shows up for work. A mercenary smile appears on his face as he calculates that if he outsourced his own cleaning department to this area for 200,000 a month, the profit would be guaranteed. Full of himself, he praises his own modest business genius. The trio resumes their walk through the neighborhood as the leader finds the number of empty houses with no residents in sight strange. He observes the silent facades, looking for any sign of movement. The entire street remains in a disturbing and unreal quiet for an apocalypse. Staring at his phone, he tries to understand if the neighbors all went to work or if they ascended to the heavens together. Suddenly, something unusual at the end of the street catches his sharp eyes. A bizarre group wearing white robes is gathered around several wooden crosses stuck in a garden. In the center of the ceremony, a wounded and exhausted man is tied to one of the posts. Hiding, the MC wonders if these people are trying to cultivate immortality and if the end of the world is just a test phase to become a god. To find out, he activates his reading ability, focusing on one of the fanatics. But the system fails miserably, finding no data. The scan focuses on the floating leader, revealing an extensive file identifying him as Wang Wuzhong, the president of a rival company with several levels of enhancement. Impressed by the insane resume full of accumulated professions, the guy jokes that his agency's HR would be scared to read it and deduces the man is part of the so-called Lord's group. He cocks his gun, muttering that he's already run into 3 of these cults around the city and that these weirdos are spreading like a plague. Stepping out of the shadows, he approaches the altar, greeting the leader and using a fake name to strike up a conversation about old contacts. Walking with confidence, he decides not to pretend to be one of the chosen to avoid making mistakes, preferring to lay his cards on the table. The fanatic opens his eyes with a serene smile, praising the newcomer's aura and stating that he seems like a true messenger of God. Our hero smiles back, complimenting his opponent's refined vocabulary and deducing that the leader already knows his real name isn't that. Holding the axe firmly, he questions the purpose of this theatrical performance of meditating with closed eyes while tying zombies to crosses. With a devout tone, Wang explains that he is merely spreading his master's will and building a bridge between people and the divine. The young businessman scoffs at the explanation, comparing the cult to a pyramid scheme and asks if this communication involves cannibalism. Offended, the leader accuses the intruder of heresy and preaches that true purification requires total detachment. Maintaining his irony, Mengxiu asks if this detachment means throwing away money, anger, and material possessions in a kind of life decluttering. The fanatic opens his arms under the moonlight, lecturing that money is superficial and that the real sacrifice is abandoning what one loves most. Pointing to the victims on the crosses, he reveals that those people sacrificed their wives and children to achieve true enlightenment. With a finger to his own temple, the MC asks if the leader has some kind of mental problem and threatens to take him out if he continues with the pyramid scheme nonsense. An invisible force suddenly attacks, forcing the guy to leap aside to dodge. With his gun raised, he realizes the cult leader truly possesses mind control powers. The fanatic points a pistol at the MC, declaring that this is his lord's selection. Unintimidated, Mengxiu fires his weapon, stating that he'd rather believe in his sacred fire axe than in false gods. The shot pierces the leader's shoulder, spraying blood into the air and breaking the villain's imposing posture. Blowing the smoke, the shooter smiles with contempt, admitting his aim is still bad and needs more practice. The bullet's impact throws the rival president off the stone platform where he was positioned. The man's body hits the courtyard floor violently, kicking up dust. Pressing on the bleeding wound, Wang screams furious threats, warning that the Lord will have no mercy for this blasphemy. Walking calmly to the fallen enemy, the guy taunts him, telling him to hurry up and transform into an armored hero to make the fight interesting. Desperate, the fanatic raises his arms to the sky and summons his beloved to rise and protect him. A gigantic shadow covers the MC as a muscular zombie leaps over him, landing with a terrifying crash. Surprised by the colossal appearance, Mengxiu backs away, questioning if the villain is some kind of magical summoning king. The system panel sounds a critical alert, identifying the enormous creature as a level 10 infected, extremely dangerous. The president's face contorts in absolute shock at the brutal size difference of the new obstacle. The colossal beast rises like a mountain of muscle, proving to be a true force of nature. Desperate, the guy shouts that a monster of that level is a heavy tank capable of destroying an entire city. The creature charges blindly, lifting a gigantic foot right next to the cult leader, who stammers, not understanding how his summon got so big. The stomp crushes a smaller infected, turning it into paste, while Wang laughs hysterically, accepting his fate to go down with the enemy. The system displays a glowing notice confirming that the super charm bonus is still active for 2 more hours. Completely affected by the seductive aura, the giant zombie runs towards the MC with love-struck eyes, ignoring her former master. Retreating, the businessman fires useless volleys of bullets against the impenetrable hide of the love-crazed creature. Putting away his gun, he draws his brand new axe, ready to begin a new session of deep cuts. The red blade sinks into the giant's broad chest, spraying jets of dark blood into the air. Twirling the handle with mastery, the guy builds momentum to deliver the final blow. His fingers grip the wood with superhuman strength, channeling all his energy into the attack. He leaps incredibly high, surpassing the monster's height, and brings the weapon down like a merciless lightning bolt. The axe hits the top of the skull dead on, splitting the creature's head with a repulsive crack. The colossal body is sliced in half, collapsing onto the asphalt in a massive pool of blood and viscera. As the system ironically warns about the illegal felling of a giant tree, Wang watches the scene, paralyzed on the ground, begging to know who this monster in human form is. Mengshu grabs Wang by the collar, demanding answers. He promises to spare his life if he reveals who the so-called Lord is, and signs over all his properties and cars for free, warning the man that he's free to refuse. Sweating and panicking, the rival stammers that he doesn't know who the Lord is, as he just suddenly understood the concept when the apocalypse began. But he quickly agrees to sign the declaration. With his bloodied hand extended, the defeated man offers to voluntarily transfer all assets under Mengshu's name to Zhang Lunping, but is cut off immediately. The MC thinks to himself that this situation is ridiculous, and he almost let his employee get a free company out of it. A small, comical version of the boss hands a pen to the cowering adversary, telling him to just write already. Completely intimidated, the man stammers his agreement as he quickly scribbles on the paper. He finishes the document and hands it over, completely stained with blood. With his back to the scene, the businessman walks away with his axe, casually mentioning that he promised not to take the man out himself. However, he warns with a dark smile that he never said he wouldn't let someone else do the dirty work. Without wasting a moment, Jan Xiaotu runs Wang through with a brutal strike that makes him spit blood. The system announces that the head of Wangshang International has been defeated, declaring total victory in this round of corporate warfare, as the guy celebrates, figuring this must be worth a few $100 million. A series of golden notifications confirms the completion of the second phase task, rewarding him with experience points, allocatable attributes, and $500,000 in cash, crowning him the new giant of the customer service industry. With a smug smile, the young executive calls the AI system a financial fraud. Immediately, the interface throws a wet blanket on his victory, informing him that due to the lack of a valid written contract or a notarized witness, and the fact that the target harbored intense hatred, the transfer has failed and cannot take effect. In deep shock, Mengshu reads the notification revealing that Wang had a total debt of $180 million, which makes him curse the old geezer for pretending to be willing to sign that piece of junk. The robotic voice explains that genetic enhancers usually mutate into high-level zombies after they perish, something no one had observed during the transformation process until now. The lifeless body begins to twitch noisily as green veins pop out on his neck. Looking over his shoulder, the guy confirms that the man has indeed changed form. The newly mutated creature lets out a vicious roar and is classified by the system as a level 8 spirit-type monster. With the axe firm in his hands, the MC informs the level 8 that he should go down quickly since he doesn't fit into the socialist employment structure. With a threatening laugh under his hood, he celebrates the fact that he remembered to put on his raincoat. A childlike representation of the hero smashes the fallen enemy's head with the axe, offering to pay $300,000 for the house and taking the dead man's silence as consent. While wiping his forehead with a satisfied smile, the boss praises the true post-apocalyptic asset legalization and celebrates the extension of his sanity contract. The panel confirms the attribute allocation, leaving his spirit at 16/5, his constitution at 20, and his agility at 20, which makes him realize his mind is still lagging and there really seems to be something wrong with his head. He pulls a business card for Wang Shunming, an assistant psychiatrist, from his pocket, reflecting that he should schedule an appointment when he has time, because you shouldn't delay treatment for mental illness, even when you have a system. With a slight frown at the paper, he wonders where he got it and why he can't remember who gave it to him. Kneeling beside the freshly decapitated monster, he uses a wrench to extract something valuable from its skull. The tool digs deep into the torn flesh to pull out the infected's core. With the glowing blue stone in hand, the businessman decides to forget his memory lapse and not focus on it. During his leisurely walk through the cemetery with his employees sitting in the background, he cheerfully calls the gem his little treasure. Crouching next to the tied-up survivor, Mongshu pokes his face with a stick, telling him to wake up and warning that he'll laugh at him for the rest of his life if the man actually believed that cult nonsense. The man keeps his eyes closed, muttering to himself that he'll pretend he didn't hear that. Annoyed by his stubbornness, the boss delivers a loud slap across the fanatic's face. The force of the impact sends the robed man flying backward, making him fall awkwardly to the ground. Lying on the asphalt with a red mark on his cheek, the survivor gulps, remaining in absolute silence. The MC stands up in the middle of the dark courtyard, looking around in confusion and asking if everyone here is gone. A drop of cold sweat runs down his tense face as he quietly repeats the term about the chosen. Just hearing that name makes him shudder, leaving him almost certain that he and this so-called lord are natural enemies. The bloody axe is dragged across the stone floor, making a metallic sound as he leaves the area. Followed closely by his loyal team of zombies, the guy confidently declares that people can believe whatever they want, but he only has faith in the sacred bodhisattva of the fire axe. The group arrives in front of the luxurious and brightly lit mansion that belonged to Wang Wuzhang. Assessing the lavish interior, the businessman admits that the old geezer really knew how to live it up. He admires the enormous, high-ceilinged living room filled with fine drinks and plush furniture, considering the atmosphere absolutely perfect. Without wasting time, the hero throws himself with open arms, falling face first onto the giant mattress of the master suite. As his employees watch the scene from the doorway, he laughs loudly, claiming this is the peak of human existence. As he opens the heavy curtains to let the light in, he announces loud and clear that he's spending the night there. With his arms raised to stretch, he yawns loudly, noting that he hasn't felt this comfortable in ages. Focusing on his own hand, he finds the relaxing sensation strange, questioning why the environment feels even better than usual. Sunlight peacefully streams through the white, sheer curtains of the luxurious bedroom window. The system congratulates him for enjoying the perfect life phase, rewarding him with experience and allocatable points, explaining that resting in a flawless home grants daily random bonuses. Sitting on the edge of the bed, delighted with the incredible feature, he wonders aloud if he should just move the company headquarters to this location. The interface quickly clarifies that the company is a corporate environment and the house is for rest, warning that if he sets the location as the business headquarters, he'll need to find a new perfect house. A yellow notification appears on the screen, triggering a morning exercise task with several available rewards. With his hair messy from sleep, Mongshu stares at the mission with an extremely focused and determined expression. Posted near the window, he stretches his back, ready to embrace the morning and let his body fill with the radiant sunlight. Dressed in black sportswear, the guy waves, calling Vice President Zhang and Manager Qi to start their daily workout. While jogging through the neighborhood with his monsters close behind, he cheerfully greets an imaginary neighbor, joking that he's out for an early walk with the kid and asking them not to misunderstand his employees. He runs carefreely past several bloody corpses on the asphalt while asking the system if greeting hams counts as social interaction. Back in the safety of the mansion, he supports himself on the floor to perform a quick set of push-ups. Standing up again, he pulls his arm across his chest, stretching his muscles to finish the physical routine. While resting on a park bench and wiping his face, he allocates 30 experience points directly to the intern clerk class. Filled with a refreshing energy, the young man smiles warmly, exclaiming that his mental state has never been better. Meanwhile, at the gates of the Yunwei Hills property, a chaotic horde of infected snarls fiercely, wandering aggressively by the entrance. The MC's peaceful expression vanishes in the blink of an eye, replaced by deep irritation with all the infernal noise. With his weapon in hand and a murderous aura, he marches outside, demanding to know why the monsters are screaming and ironically asking if their mental health is also great. With a wicked smile crossing his face, the post-apocalyptic marketing genius begins to devise plans, deciding it's better to keep them around to distribute flyers since they can intimidate other survivors. The trio walks calmly down the desolate and ruined highway, which is completely filled with abandoned vehicles. A violent zombie with red eyes suddenly leaps towards the businessman, its sharp claws ready to tear. Dodging the attack with a simple step, Mangshu scolds the creature for not paying attention to pedestrians and complains about the lack of civilized urban management. He snaps his fingers casually as the zombie duo prepares to neutralize the threat. A loud noise attracts the guy's attention, revealing a huge yellow school bus parked up ahead. Crossing the cracked asphalt, he approaches the heavy vehicle in the middle of the empty street, clearly impressed by the machine's sturdiness. Through the driver's door, he excitedly gets in, testing the interior space by enthusiastically slapping the metal body. After checking the control panel and steering wheel, he concludes with satisfaction that now employee zoning and transportation will no longer be a major problem. With a confident smile and a hand on his chin, he murmurs to himself that the situation is finally giving off real story vibes. Standing in the vehicle's aisle, the MC orders the blue-haired girl and the red-haired zombie to split up and look for the driver. As a corporate incentive, he promises that whoever finds the keys first will get a promotion and a raise. Noticing the complete lack of reaction from his undead subordinates, the guy furrows his brow, muttering that they should at least give him some morale. Out of patience with their insubordination, the boss shouts indignantly that if they keep standing there, no one is sharing a bed with him tonight. The bizarre threat has an immediate effect, causing the two creatures to dash quickly through the debris to search the area. Holding firmly onto the bus's metal bar, the businessman reflects that in the initial phase of a startup, the company has a million things to deal with. The pressure of responsibilities hits hard, leaving him wide-eyed as he realizes that managing all of this alone is too difficult for him. Outside, the search ends quickly when he finds an infected person crushed under the heavy vehicle's front tire. Curious about the usefulness of the ham, he activates his reading ability to analyze the target on the asphalt. The system's glowing panel confirms the subject is gone, but displays an impressive reliability rate of 97%. With his two zombie employees positioned behind him, the hero raises his bloody axe with a determined expression. He declares loud and clear that safety comes first and that this is the true spirit of his company. The heady blade comes down mercilessly, cutting through flesh with a violent thud and splattering fresh blood on the ground. Holding a red-stained metal key, the guy evaluates the object, thinking it looks more like a safe key, but concludes it'll do as long as it opens something. The system informs him that the item has been automatically translated in the user's brain, as the boss concludes that this small piece is much more reliable than the useless manager Chi. With the engine roaring loudly, the yellow school bus moves imposingly through the deserted streets of the ruined city. The heavy vehicle crosses the cracked asphalt, showing that the company now has an official mode of transport. Sitting in the driver's seat with stylish sunglasses, the MC smiles confidently, asserting that a man driving a machine like this will never let fate keep him low-key. The AI interface praises his incredible driving, activating performance rewards that make the driver celebrate the system's genius. Further ahead, a lone infected wanders right in the middle of the road, blocking the way. Annoyed by the obstacle, the businessman questions aloud how that monster dares to block his path to profit. Without hesitating for a second, his foot slams the accelerator to the floor. The brutal impact sends the creature flying through the air as the driver excitedly shouts an offer for a direct trip to be reincarnated in another world. The corporate transport continues on its high-speed route, leaving the twisted body rolling on the destroyed concrete. Far away, at the company's makeshift headquarters, the electrician Lun Ping and the secretary Zhao Zhao watch the street anxiously, wondering if their crazy boss will actually come back. Suddenly, the huge yellow vehicle parks with precision right at the establishment's door. Completely shocked by the absurd punctuality, the older employee stammers in disbelief that the guy actually showed up. The folding door opens, revealing Mangshu in a casual pose, giving a quick greeting to the team. The woman with glasses cautiously peeks into the bus, trying to understand what's happening. Her blood runs cold as she sees the blue and red-haired zombies sitting calmly in the seats, emanating a cold, murderous aura until an undead lawyer suddenly jumps out, causing even more terror. With his weapon in hand, the hero shows an annoyed expression as he notes the mess the newcomer tried to cause. A notification congratulates the president for successfully applying management theory to subdue the undead man, who is now cowering in fear on the floor next to the blue-haired employee. Outside, the pair of human survivors' eyes go wide, completely paralyzed by the shock of the unreal scene. Calmly, Mengshu asks them not to be scared, explaining that the one on the floor is from the legal department and hasn't gone through orientation training yet. Leaning against the glass of the bus stop, the electrician breaks into a cold sweat, trying to process the idea that monsters shouldn't have rational thought, while several other infected bang uselessly on the shelter around him. Trembling from head to toe, the secretary pleads for someone to tell her she's not crazy for realizing they now work directly with zombies. Back at the wheel with his sunglasses on, the boss tells everyone to sit tight because the trip is about to start. The system's radar beeps on the dashboard, detecting a high-level architect within a 3-kilometer radius, which brings a satisfied smile to the driver's face at the chance for a new hire. The school bus speeds fiercely, kicking up dust down a narrow avenue flanked by destroyed buildings. In the middle of the street, Wen Yuan walks, exhausted and injured, repeating to himself that he can't stop and can't perish in this place. The roar of the engine catches the survivor's attention, and he turns his head in surprise to see the large yellow transport. Desperate for his life, he waves his arms frantically, begging for help. Inside the cabin, a nimble hand presses the button to open the automatic doors. An intense, life-saving light emanates from the vehicle's interior, bathing the tired man. Before the architect's amazed eyes, the MC appears illuminated like a celestial angel, surrounded by imaginary little cherubs playing harps. Sporting the aura of a flawless savior, the businessman reassures the guy, calling him by name and announcing that this is the official transport of the Peace and Order group. Still blinded by the gleam of hope, Wen Yuan listens attentively as he's told he's on his way to a job interview. The boss gestures amicably, assuring him the company is very reputable, and invites him to come aboard and take a look. As soon as he steps on the stairs, the angelic illusion shatters when the candidate comes face to face with the bloodthirsty gazes of the 3 undead employees at the back of the aisle. Terrified, he tries to turn around and flee the vehicle, screaming hysterically that the monsters are also coming from behind. A feral infected leaps towards the open door but is instantly met with a fatal shot to the middle of its forehead. Blood splatters on the metal as Mengshu blows the smoke coming from the barrel of his pistol. With cold eyes and his weapon still in hand, he stares at the new passenger, making it clear who's in charge here. The bus resumes its relentless march, crushing any creature that dares to cross its path under its heavy tires. Relaxed in the driver's seat, the leader casually tells everyone to hold on tight. He yanks the gear shift hard, performing a sharp maneuver in the middle of the highway. The yellow body slides violently, running over dozens of enemies and sending bodies flying everywhere in a bloody chaos. Gripping the seat, the architect panics, asking what they should do now in this insane situation. Trying to maintain his veteran composure, Lumping tells the newbie to calm down, assuring him the president will handle everything perfectly. Not fooled by the false tranquility, Wen Yuan points out that his colleague is completely soaked in a cold sweat while saying that the brake pads screech as the vehicle comes to a sudden stop in front of the imposing Peace and Order Company building. Descending the steps with the axe on his shoulder, the MC shouts a challenge to anyone who owes him money or is blocking his company's entrance to get lost. The zombies wandering the plaza turn their rotting faces towards the provocative voice. Setting his stance, the guy fearlessly charges into the crowd of hungry infected. Watching the scene from the bus window, the newly rescued man murmurs in admiration, questioning who said that only those bathed in light could be called heroes. The admiration gives way to a bloodbath as the boss begins to slice through his enemies with brutal precision, cutting off arms and heads in a deadly ballet. The axe blade cuts through the wind, leaving red trails on the clean sidewalk. Sheathing his weapon after the massacre, he walks back, demanding that everyone get off the vehicle because the interviews are starting immediately. The former deputy manager, Meng Shunpeng, now transformed into his zombie guard dog, lets out a low growl beside his master. Annoyed by the uselessness of his suited pet, the hero lifts his boot, delivering a violent stomp without warning. The sole of his shoe smashes the creature's face into the asphalt as the president fumes that the useless thing did nothing with 30 monsters at the door, questioning if he really made him clean it all up himself and if he's asking to be fired. Completely immersed in his crazy corporate logic, the guy declares a 100 yuan fine for assaulting an employee and then immediately increases the pet's punishment to 1,000. The trio of humans' eyes go wide in unison, perplexed by the discovery that you can issue labor fines to the undead. Ignoring his passenger's shock, the leader sternly orders the 4 of them to get ready for their interviews. Now on the building's fourth floor, inside a clean and organized office, the MC faces the electrician and announces that, since he already worked in personnel, he's being promoted to leader of the human resources group, telling him to start work at once. With a mop in hand, the MC notices a crumpled ball of paper and remembers reading about these bizarre character tests in online interviews. A knock on the door interrupts his thoughts, and he quickly tells the candidate to enter the room. The architect Wen Yuan crosses the threshold, completely dazed and confused, while firmly holding his injured arm. With a friendly gesture, the boss invites the newcomer to sit in the wooden chair positioned in the center of the office. Getting straight to the point, Meng Shu seriously questions if the newbie thinks the trash on the floor is going to walk to the bin by itself. Faced with this unusual question, the guy remains in absolute silence, blinking, unsure how to react to the pressure. Being moved on to the next step of the process, the candidate walks uncertainly to the door of the Human Resources Department. Inside, Lumping unleashes a barrage of questions, asking for his father's name, if he knows how to play bridge, and whether this is a job interview or a psychological test. The HR lead demands total focus on the topic of Chen Bin, being very interested in him, and also asks for a summary of his work experience, salary expectations, and details of how the injury occurred. Pinned against the wall, the survivor mentally questions if they are truly in the hell of the apocalypse, since this company follows an incredibly formal and rigorous hiring process. Noticing a zombie mopping the hallway, he concludes that President Meng really has extraordinary abilities and that at least this place seems very safe. Clutching his wound, the architect hopes he might get his hand fixed if he's actually hired to work with this team. Now in the meeting room, the MC points to the screen, announcing that Professor Lau will receive 20,000, Zhangqin 10,000, and Wen Yuan will start as an intern earning 8,000, but notes that for the first 3 months, the newbie receives nothing as the entire amount goes to medical expenses. The glowing panel displays the complete company structure, listing departments like cleaning, legal, security, human resources, and even civil engineering. Completely shocked, the newly hired man repeats the figure of 8,000 in disbelief, questioning how diverting his entire salary to medical treatment can be classified as a simple internship. With an imposing posture, the boss decrees that corporate money is to be spent exclusively by the corporation and forbids anyone from even thinking about taking a single cent home. The scene shifts to the Evolution Crystal Lab, a former cafeteria now repurposed, where the zombie employees patiently await their master's orders. The MC holds up his hand, displaying a cluster of colorful, shiny gems ready for the team's consumption. As he hands the crystals to Kiwei to eat, he reflects that he never imagined the company goddess acting so savagely, proving that appearances are truly deceiving at the end of the world. A holographic interface appears in the air, confirming that the cleaning department employee has just leveled up. Satisfied with the visual result, the businessman cracks a slight smile, confirming that the monster's evolution method works perfectly. Next, he tosses a purple gem towards Blondie, ordering the former deputy manager to swallow the item immediately. The suited undead chews on the crystal as his eyes begin to glow an intense and terrifying shade of red. The mutation acts quickly, distorting the creature's face, which takes on bestial, canine features as he roars fiercely at the ceiling. The security guard's hands transform into heavy paws with sharp claws, destroying what was left of his former human posture. The system officially records Meng Shenpeng's evolution, updating his position in the registry to the role of corporate security dog. Suddenly, a new task notification is triggered, alerting him to a team-building event focused on the glorious act of planting trees. Excited by the corporate news, Meng Shu raises his arms high and summons everyone present for the outdoor team-building activity. The large yellow truck continues to cross the devastated city under the sunlight, carrying the mixed team to their new mission on the destroyed streets. In the truck bed, various saplings and flowers sway gently with the road's movement, waiting to be planted. With an aggressive kick, the blue-haired zombie throws open the office door, startling the human survivors who are talking inside. Analyzing the infected girl, Professor Lau notes that she is the frontier type cataloged in the research notes and asks if President John wants everyone to come down to the ground floor. The undead employee just lets out a confused howl, not understanding a single word of that bureaucratic language. Now on the sidewalk in front of the company building, the team lines up near the truck as the boss announces the official start of the company's first hands-on event. Exuding a motivational aura, the businessman orders everyone to grab a shovel and a sapling to start landscaping the facade immediately. Clapping with exaggerated enthusiasm, the suck-up Lun Ping praises the president's infinite wisdom in front of the group. Watching his colleague, one of the newbies mentally complains in frustration, realizing the electrician just stole his strategic spot in the corporate brown-nosing. Without wasting time, the metal shovels begin to pierce the dry earth of the flower bed, kicking up dust. The teamwork flows intensely, with Secretary Zhao Zhao carrying heavy bags of fertilizer while the others prepare the pitted soil. The former HR manager carefully places a red rose in the earth, showing an almost fanatical dedication to the gardening project. Leaning on his tool handle, the MC overhears a young woman comment that this manual activity is much more meaningful than going to karaoke. With a bouquet of roses in her arms, the secretary questions why they are planting new flowers on the street when there are already several decorative pots upstairs. Breaking into a cold sweat over the logical question, Meng Shu thinks he can't just reveal his top-secret information about creating pea shooters to the team. Behind the scenes, the employees start gossiping, creating absurd theories, from seeds blessed by the heavens that turn into cannons, to healing sunflowers and hypnotic mushrooms capable of controlling minds. Tired of the collective madness, Lumping puts a hand on his head, wondering if everyone there has lost their minds or if he's the only rational person left in the world. Distracted by the roses, the rational employee doesn't notice the lethal approach of a lone infected sneaking up behind him. The red-eyed monster leaps with its claws outstretched, ready to tear open the defenseless worker's throat. Before the blow can land, a muscular paw smashes into the concrete with crushing force. The giant security dog charges like an orange blur, intercepting the attacker in midair with a brutal and relentless tackle. In a savage move, the pet rips off the enemy's head with its teeth, sending a shower of blood over the flower bed and saving the electrician's life. Proud of his former rival's performance, the boss casually comments that Blondie has an incredible natural talent for being a dog. A glowing system notification appears over the planted flower, congratulating the planting ace and highlighting that this task is not just a job, but a huge environmental responsibility for the planet. The screen displays a line of small sprouts emerging from the sterile earth, emphasizing that great results come from small, accumulated efforts. The team-building event is declared an absolute success, yielding 120,000 in cash, 30 experience points, and 1 attribute point, as well as improving team morale. The AI gives a curious warning that incidents related to the pea shooters may happen soon and suggests that splitting the company into factions stimulates healthy market competition. After evaluating the tactical situation, the businessman partly agrees with the idea, but fears that too much internal competition could lead to disastrous consequences. Shortly after, a golden screen announces he has been promoted from intern to clerk level 3, gaining the peculiar ability of lazy overtime king. Pragmatically, the guy decides to allocate his new attribute point directly to the spirit category to block any kind of mental exhaustion. The virtual button emits a pulse of light, confirming that his spiritual status has just hit the 19-point mark. Relaxing his shoulders, the MC smiles faintly, surrounded by miniature forms of his 2 loyal zombies, silently celebrating another day of corporate victories. Back on the main menu, the leader checks the unlocking of a small hand crank generator designed to turn a person's or creature's running into a pure electricity treadmill. With a malicious and confident look, he claims the equipment, imagining his monsters running endlessly to usher in the company's new era of sustainable energy. The exchange is successfully registered, and the newly acquired item is temporarily stored in virtual space for 12 hours, awaiting physical retrieval. Determined to burn through the resources accumulated from the mission, the guy hits the panel to perform a 10-item multi-pull at once. The roulette rules highlight the heavy costs, ranging from cash fees to extremely high points for those seeking legendary rarities. 100,000 funds are instantly wiped from the account as the player raises his fist, demanding a super rare level reward from the heavens. The roulette wheel spins frantically and stops, delivering only purified water, instant noodles, a secretary's outfit, and a useless toy gun from a famous drama. The businessman's face drains of all color, contorting in pure rage and disappointment at the pathetic and worthless result. Disgusted with his own bad luck, he sacrifices 10 more points, violently slamming his hand on the button to force another round. The new notification requires him to travel to the city of Modu, which leaves him perplexed and annoyed, questioning if the AI has gone completely insane. A few blocks away, the double lenses of a pair of binoculars focus directly on the rooftop of the Peace and Order Company's base. Hidden in the debris of a neighboring building, two survivors analyze the bizarre scene of the MC relaxing among several infected, accompanied by a woman of surreal beauty. The guy with the binoculars suggests using their stock of instant noodles to try to open a franchise or form an alliance with the eccentric group. However, his older, rough-featured companion flatly denies the plan, warning that the relaxed man is far more lethal than the zombies, and that the best strategy is to keep their distance. The orange sun begins to fade over the ruins of the abandoned metropolis, heralding the arrival of a dangerous night at the end of the world. The journey continues with the MC at the wheel when a system alert appears, informing him of a subsidiary channel synchronization. Through the lenses of his tech glasses, he follows the map, indicating that some acquaintances have gone in opposite directions. He adjusts the frames on his face and calmly comments that he hopes they have a bright future ahead of them. The rearview mirror reflects his two faithful zombie employees settled in the back seat of the pickup truck. Excited about the company's next steps, the boss informs the team that it's time to buy a luxury car. The vehicle's dashboard displays the GPS calculating the route to a dealership just a few kilometers away. Without hesitation, the driver floors the accelerator to reach the destination as quickly as possible. The car tears through the city's destroyed streets as the sun begins to set on the apocalyptic horizon. Outside the car dealership, a few infected wander aimlessly on the cracked asphalt. Nearby, in the basement of a neighboring building, a young saleswoman from the dealership rests, exhausted, on the floor. With no food or water in the hideout she rented to save money, she realizes her situation is unsustainable. Resigned to her misery, the woman decides she needs to risk her life and try her luck searching the next basement. As soon as she unlocks the door, a monster's rotting arm shoves through the crack, making the girl scream for them not to push. Grabbing a broom as a weapon, she hears the chaotic noise outside growing rapidly. Trembling with terror, the saleswoman peeks through the opening only to find several undead lying on the ground, completely mangled. With wide eyes, the girl freezes, trying to process the sudden massacre that occurred at her doorstep. In the middle of the blood-soaked street, the mysterious guy stands, accompanied by his threatening female figures. With a reddish, penetrating gaze, the leader abruptly turns his head, sensing someone watching them from the basement. The boss wields his stained metal pipe, assuming it's a mutant, and orders his employees to go in and slice the creature up. Desperate at the order, the saleswoman jumps out, waving her arms frantically to swear she's human and used to work at the dealership. The MC immediately draws his weapon and warns her not to run like that, lest she make him waste ammo for nothing. The young woman bows respectfully, calling the stranger boss, and promises to lead him to the store in exchange for supplies. In response, he tosses a bottle of water in her direction with the clear warning that she'll be a goner if she's lying. As the girl desperately devours a piece of bread, the businessman casually asks what car he can buy with $1 million. The woman's chewing stops instantly, completely confused by the absurd idea of someone wanting to buy a vehicle in the apocalypse. Annoyed by the silence, the guy questions if she has any recommendations, especially since she picked up her own name tag from the floor. Resuming her professional demeanor, the saleswoman lists a premium model for $950,000 and another for $680,000. Satisfied with the luxury options, the MC praises her choices and suddenly proposes they become friends. The girl blinks, not understanding the reason for this sudden approach in the middle of an unreal negotiation. Extending his hand with a friendly smile, the leader argues that since they're partners, she should give him the special employee price. Excited about their new friendship, the buyer asks her not to round up the price and suggests she just add a few accessories to the package. Now inside the abandoned dealership, an imposing black sedan waits, intact, in the center of the main showroom. The guy nods in approval at the vehicle and firmly declares he's closing the deal. Heading to the service counter, he asks if he can pay by card. Playing along with the client's madness, the saleswoman grabs an old card machine and nervously asks him to swipe his card there. The businessman holds a useless piece of plastic from the municipal hospital near it, pretending it's his no-limit credit card. The machine emits an unexpected beep, creating a heavy, awkward silence between the two. The woman's eyes go wide, not understanding how the powered-down device managed to process the reading. A virtual screen suddenly appears, announcing that the purchase was a success and that $1 million has been deducted from the company's account. In complete shock, the intern loses his composure and desperately yells that it was all just a joke. The employee leans against the newly purchased car, trying to catch his breath to deal with the huge loss. Back to his corporate reality, The leader analyzes the saleswoman and states that her extortion skills would be perfect for peace and order. The young woman shakes her head frantically, rejecting the absurd job offer on the spot. The MC's expression darkens, and he steps closer, grimly assuring her that his mental health is completely normal. Giving up on the forced recruitment, he says that noble people don't hold grudges and advises the girl to look for him in his territory if she changes her mind. The driver settles into the leather seat, effusively celebrating the feeling of sitting in a $1 million car. The joy is short-lived as a system notification pops up, warning that the vehicle has no license plate and requires official registration. With the window down, the customer complains about the missing plate, leaving the saleswoman perplexed as to how to register a car at the end of the world. An intimidating silence fills the space as the leader stares at her fixedly from the driver's seat, demanding a solution to the problem. The woman forces the best professional smile she can muster and cordially asks if he has any preference for the plate numbers. Internally, the girl feels her sanity slipping away in the face of this impossible bureaucratic demand. In a casual tone, the guy suggests a sequence of 8s, justifying that businessmen need auspicious numbers. Opening the passenger door, he orders the service provider to go outside and solve the problem and sends his guard to accompany her. The reddish-haired zombie activates her glowing eyes, assuming an intimidating escort posture. The saleswoman watches the bodyguard's creepy walk and stammers, questioning if that woman isn't one of the infected. Naturally, the boss confirms her suspicion and even demands respect, justifying that she is a senior executive of the company. Cold sweat runs down the girl's face as she fears for her life and wonders if she's the one going crazy. The bizarre duo walks through the devastated streets under the evening light, searching for any metal scrap with numbers on it. The mission's target is soon found on a completely rusted vehicle that still has its rear identification intact. The young woman runs across the asphalt, thinking the excuse of handling the paperwork is the perfect chance to escape the lunatic, when a rabid infected leaps at her. Before the claws can harm the civilian, the undead executive intercepts the attack with a surgical blade strike. With crushing force, the security guard's heel presses the monster's skull against the asphalt, securing the takedown. The zombie finishes the violent move with elegance and walks right past the scared human, proving her utility in the role. The saleswoman is impressed by the efficiency of her protection and leads the way back with renewed relief. The young woman hands the dirty metal plate to the MC, assuring him she got the item through a very special channel. The corporation's leader admires the piece with a satisfied smile, feeling that the quality standard has been maintained. As a reward for her excellent work, he hands her a wad of useless cash as a tip, which is received with fake thanks. The sedan displays its new, fitted identification as the system announces the mission's success, delivering points and unlocking the ride-sharing app mode. The guy smooths his hair back and curiously reads the notification about the new mode unlocked for the vehicle. An imposing golden screen with gears reveals that the user's physical attributes have reached the maximum limit of 20 points. The notification warns that the next evolutionary stage requires the mandatory completion of a complex advancement task. The enhancement suggestions range from inventing human biotechnology to replacing his own body with cybernetic parts or transcending into space. The businessman ignores the space-age alternatives and just smiles confidently, demanding the system send him his ultimate corporate challenge. Floating panels detail the vital need for a business plan to summarize past victories and align prospects for the upcoming year. Amidst a blinding beam of light, the AI declares that the final advancement depends on the immediate organization of a grand and eternal company party. With a hand on his chin, the businessman ponders that organizing a year-end party with singing and dancing shouldn't be too hard to handle. Suddenly, a beep from the control panel interrupts his corporate thoughts, demanding attention. The holographic screen reveals a rescue request from the newly crowned Best National Actress who is trapped in a dangerous neighborhood and wants to escape. Upon reading the trip's destination, the driver sighs in frustration at having to deal with the annoying people from the safe zone again. Soon, his business mindset takes over as he realizes he can convince her to change the route inside the car and overcharge for the trip due to the apocalypse. Behind the boss's back, the secretary and the electrician watch his hurried departure, lamenting how the director wears himself out for work without thinking of his own health. Not understanding the duo's drama, the little blue-haired infected just tilts her head, letting out a curious grunt. Focused on the imminent profit, the MC speeds through the destroyed streets as the last rays of sun illuminate his determined face. The luxury SUV drifts fiercely around the curves of a mountain road, proving the driver's extreme skills. As the vehicle tears down the highway, darkness takes over the sky, only illuminating the thick clouds over the hills. At a distant base, some survivors chat in the courtyard about rumors of a lunatic who decided to open a company in the region's commercial building. Taking a drag from his cigarette, the man with the pompadour expresses his deep hatred for this type of crazy entrepreneur who only attracts monsters to the area. Nearby, one of the henchmen eagerly asks if their divine lord will send a new oracle to the group soon. Losing arrogance, the smoker blows out smoke, assuring them that the sacred message will certainly reach them. He lifts his head to the starry night, declaring with unshakable pride that he is the true chosen one to lead this new world. Far away, the upscale neighborhood where the actress lives is completely submerged in the deadly silence of the apocalypse. Dozens of undead wander aimlessly through the mansion's courtyard, growling in search of any fresh meat. In the dark and empty interior of the residence, the movie star curls up on the floor, hugging her legs next to a garbage bag. Holding a hard piece of bread with both hands, the long-haired woman stares into nothingness with an expression of pure panic and hunger. The celebrity's exhausted mind transports her to luxurious memories of receiving major awards under the spotlights and warm applause of the public. She also recalls the glory days at the gym, where her personal trainer demanded intense workouts and praised her performance. However, that golden reality has been replaced by the horrifying sight of rotting jaws and bloodthirsty creatures tearing people apart in front of her. The trauma of the carnage still haunts the survivor, leaving her face stained with the horror of the tragedies she witnessed up close. An empty, blood-stained water bottle falls to the floor, reinforcing the absolute scarcity of basic resources in that isolated place. Taking a bite of the moldy food, she cries inconsolably, not understanding why civilization crumbled so quickly. Tears stream down her face as she laments that she never would have gone on such a restrictive diet if she had known the end of the world was so near. In this moment of weakness, the woman turns her head towards the window upon hearing a mechanical noise cutting through the neighborhood's silence. Her eyes lose focus for a second as she notices a sudden flash of light approaching through the large front gates. Running to the outdoor balcony, the star is stunned to see a vehicle illuminating the abandoned street in her direction. Immediately, the horde of infected that surrounded the house turns in the same direction, attracted by the bright lights and powerful engine. Watching the horde stir, the woman vows to herself that she would rather take her own life than be eaten alive by those things. Breaking through the property's iron gates, the imposing sedan runs over the monsters, forcing a path through the dark asphalt. Filled with hope for rescue, the actress leans over the balcony railing, screaming for help and promising to pay any amount of money they demand. The luxury vehicle brakes in the center of the courtyard and is immediately surrounded by the creatures, who begin to pound on its body. Analyzing the terrible tactical situation, the survivor indignantly wonders why the rescue team didn't use a sturdy pickup truck instead of a low-slung car. Inside the cabin, the driver tosses his sunglasses onto the passenger seat, maintaining a completely natural posture in the face of the external threat. His dark shoe floors the accelerator to initiate an aggressive maneuver in the middle of the putrid crowd. The car drifts sideways with extreme violence, crushing several infected against the courtyard concrete all at once. The alloy wheel grinds one of the monster's heads, spreading a dense red pool under the vehicle. Thick splatters of blood splash onto the impeccable body of the newly purchased car, staining the entire dark paint job. Wielding his dirty axe, the MC gets out of the car, calmly humming a song about the light of justice shining upon the land. Indignant at the guy's stupidity, the star screams at him to get back inside immediately and flee before he needlessly perishes. Ignoring the hysteria, the businessman formally introduces himself as a ride-share driver and politely asks her to provide the last digits of her phone number to confirm the trip. The woman's mind instantly short-circuits, unable to process the unreal idea of a transportation app working in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Before the undead can attack the boss, his two employees leap onto the asphalt, delivering precise strikes and slicing the enemy horde to pieces. With the lethal agility of a predator, the dark-haired security guard pierces an infected's body, slicing through its flesh with no effort. Clearing the area of the neutralized monsters, the driver asks the client not to be alarmed by the massacre as they are just bodyguards and again demands the ride confirmation number. Trembling on the upper floor of the house, the celebrity stammers out the number sequence and soon receives a thumbs up from the driver indicating the system's validation. Holding his heavy weapon firmly, the young man dashes up the steps of the mansion's main entrance. The axe cuts through the air in wide, powerful swings, splitting the last rotting bodies, blocking the double doors in half. With his hand bathed in enemy blood, he leans against the solid wood and gently informs the passenger that she can now exit safely. A deathly silence returns to the house's hall as the rescuer waits with his back turned, facing the darkness of the corridor. Peeking through a crack in the window, the actress gulps and asks with a trembling voice what that strange man wants with her. The businessman turns his head, sizing her up with a calculating look focused on the profit potential of the scared woman. The company's virtual evaluation screen appears, highlighting the singer's high-level artistic skills as she shrinks in terror before the unknown. Trying to project a friendly image, the MC assures her that the area has been completely sanitized and there is no longer any danger outside. Trembling from head to toe, the woman confesses that her biggest concern isn't the sliced-up zombies, but the terrifying fear she feels of him. Desperate to be spared, she falsely praises the bizarre singing he did on the street and even recommends he join a music show as a way to pay for the trip. Playing along with the absurd suggestion, the guy recites a heroic line about the light of justice and points his finger, ordering the scared singer to complete the lyric. Satisfied with the artist's submission and stammered response, he rests the axe on his shoulder, turning his back to lead the way back to the car. Startled by the sudden change in mood, the passenger processes how quickly the man's mind alternates between insanity and corporate charisma. During the walk through the courtyard, covered in debris and blood, the leader introduces his prestigious Peace and Order Company, assuring her that the financial compensation and benefits are unbeatable. Without missing a business opportunity, he slightly turns his head, asking if she'd like to perform at the upcoming annual party for a measly $10 million. The singer's brain simply shuts down at the unreal job offer amidst mutilated bodies and the smell of rot. Resigned to her new lunatic routine, the woman follows the driver's steps, declaring with her head down that she's leaving her fate entirely in his hands. Fully confident in his flawless rescue operation, the young man once again assures her that not a single monster is left in the vicinity to disrupt their trip. Contradicting the boss's guarantee of safety, a frightening humanoid figure silently leaps from the mansion's roof towards the asphalt. A gray-skinned mutant with a sharp horn embedded in its forehead lands fiercely, displaying intensely red irises and clenched fists. Noticing the dangerous approach from behind, the company's main protective force lets out a monstrous roar as the director points his finger at the new threat. Without a second's hesitation, the businessman gives the immediate order for his employee to attack and turn that disgusting being into pieces scattered on the ground. The executive in the dark overcoat activates her violent instincts, her scarlet eyes glowing with fury and a thirst for destruction. With an absurdly destructive impulse, she launches her lean body against the debris, shattering the concrete under her feet to take off into the air. The infected warrior swiftly closes the distance, tearing through the wind in a low, deadly flight straight towards the giant beast. About to deliver a devastating impact to the enemy's skull, she pulls her arm back, concentrating all the supernatural force she can muster. In response to the aerial charge, the horned mutant also prepares a colossal punch, displaying an expression of pure animalistic rage, ready for the imminent collision. The security guard's fist cuts through the air with extreme speed, heading straight for the target. The massive impact lands squarely on the giant mutant's arm as it tries to defend against the crushing blow. The MC watches the scene up close and comments with surprise that he didn't expect to find just one mutated zombie there. Huddled by the window, the singer panics, asking if they shouldn't hide somewhere safe. Faced with the client's desperation, the businessman adjusts his axe on his shoulders and prepares to join the fight as his other employee lets out a savage noise. With an acrobatic leap, the guy plummets from the concrete structure, aiming his weapon directly at the creature below. Gravity enhances the aerial attack as he descends with the sharp blade ready to tear through rotten flesh. The clean, brutal cut severs the monstrous beast's hand, sending dark blood spraying through the air. Due to the sudden amputation, the gray being retreats and becomes vulnerable before the relentless executive. An opening appears, and the red-haired girl lands a powerful kick to the enemy's chest, throwing it violently backward. From the second floor, the celebrity is dumbfounded, trying to understand what kind of absurd power that is. The company boss wastes no time and prepares the final move to finish the cleanup job. In a devastating and precise strike, the axe splits the horned zombie's robust body completely in half, from the top of its head to its base. Pieces of the bizarre head fall to the asphalt, marking the brutal end of the nighttime confrontation. Rummaging through the remains with his bare hands, the leader complains that the loot should be distributed by the raid commander. The young man tosses the shiny gem to his employee, ordering her to consume the old one and save the new one for later. The bodyguard carefully holds the valuable item and silently obeys her boss's instructions. The system screen appears, confirming that the defeated monster was a level 3 strength-type mutant zombie. Analyzing the quiet street, the guy tells the passenger to get down already because the area is now totally clear. Without arguing, the woman quickly agrees as the driver announces they are leaving immediately. The luxury sedan moves through the middle of the night, cutting through the completely destroyed and debris-filled streets of the end of the world. Suddenly, his dark shoe firmly presses the brake pedal, bringing the vehicle to an abrupt stop. The passenger turns her head, curious to know the reason for the sudden interruption. It turns out the broken traffic light above the intersection is showing a red light amidst the apocalyptic chaos. A drop of sweat runs down the celebrity's face, unable to believe the civic obedience of this maniac at the end of times. When the signal finally turns green, the go-ahead to proceed is granted. The tires squeal on the asphalt, and the ride-share trip continues its normal course through the ruined city. As soon as they reach the area of luxury villas, the singer points in fear to a person lying in a front yard. The driver casually corrects her, stating that it's just half a body belonging to the cult leader's wife. As the woman shrinks in disgust at the place's morbidity, the businessman decides it's late and they'll rest at his house first. Getting out of the car with her luggage, the client nervously swallows her apprehension about entering the suspicious property. During the walk to the entrance, the host determines she'll sleep upstairs and tells her to knock on his door if anything happens. Outside the imposing mansion, a few creatures wander aimlessly on the dark lawn. Isolated in a huge, poorly lit room, the girl hugs her legs on the bed, trying to find some comfort. Tremors run through her entire body as she mutters that the atmosphere of this place is just too terrifying. Unable to bear the agonizing loneliness, the guest wanders through the corridors, lamenting how awful it is to be alone in the middle of nowhere. Clutching her pillow tightly, the woman descends the stairs in search of some human company to spend the night. Passing through the ground floor living room, the tension in the air makes her heart race even faster. With a hesitant hand, she knocks lightly on the wood and confesses she's scared. Asking for permission to sleep with him, the owner of the house turns his neck in surprise, questioning if she's sure about this bold idea. Seeing no problem with the situation, he simply gives the woman the okay to enter the room. At the doorway, holding a candelabra, the actress freezes upon realizing the man is lying in bed, cuddled up with his 2 killer bodyguards. Completely relaxed between the pale girls, the guy assures her it's no interruption at all and invites her to join them in bed as he's falling asleep. The celebrity's face turns completely red with embarrassment and shock as she accepts the crazy proposal from the eccentric man. The next morning, the sun shines brightly, illuminating the impeccable facade of the boss's luxurious property. Slowly, the guest's eyelids open as the morning light hits her delicate face. Feeling the wide mattress, the woman realizes the space beside her is completely empty and cold. Sitting up in bed, still confused, she tries to figure out where everyone went so early. Drawn by the sound of frying and the aroma of food, the singer quickly goes down the stairs, heading straight for the kitchen. The host shows off a full pan and announces his grilled steak dish, informing her that each portion costs $25. The woman is outraged by the exorbitant price, while the businessman sarcastically asks if the amount is too steep for her wallet. At that exact moment of culinary extortion, the system panel announces that the client's favorability has slightly decreased. Focused on business, the guy says the limit is 3 portions per person and demands payment up front. With timid hands, the celebrity proposes opening a tab and asks if she can sing to work off the breakfast debt. Without the slightest artistic compassion, the cook rejects the proposal on the spot, crushing the starving girl's hopes. To get around the situation, the woman remembers that money from the old world is worthless now and offers an exclusive dance in exchange for a plate. The corporate leader leans in, understanding the desperation of not wanting to go hungry, and suggests a quick way to make a profit. Crossing her arms defensively, the star warns that she only sells her talent, not her body. Returning to his business mentality, the MC repeats the official offer for her to sing one song at the company's annual party for the whopping sum of $10 million. The system validates the absurd transaction at the same time the woman frantically agrees, already putting on an apron to help prepare the meat for this peculiar team. The director carries the plastic bags full of food and walks to the parking lot, wanting to know where the biggest concentration of infected in the region is. Settled in the passenger seat, the new employee points in the right direction, collaborating with the boss's bizarre plans. Pressing the accelerator to the floor, the sedan takes off abruptly, leaving tire marks at the residence's entrance. The dark car parks in the middle of a street blocked by a gigantic horde of flesh-hungry monsters. The disgusting creatures waste no time and start violently pounding on the windshield, trying to break into the cabin. Huddled in the leather seat, the singer has a nervous breakdown, asking what they're going to do in the face of this lethal siege. The entrepreneur's calm expression doesn't change as he scolds her for her lack of initiative and tells the woman to set up the steak stand on the street. With the refined plating, the juicy piece of meat rests perfectly on the porcelain dish. Through the open car door, the street vendor extends the tray to his rotting customers, asking them to form an orderly line because there's enough for everyone. With extreme aggression, the infected's body is thrown against the side of the vehicle, cracking the asphalt in the process. Standing on the destroyed sidewalk, the guy admires the damage he just caused to his first customer of the day. After immobilizing the disheveled monster on the ground, the MC shoves the hot steak directly into the target's bloody mouth. The rotten teeth chew on the premium cut as the street food vendor provides the forced service. Rummaging through the torn pockets of the undead's pants, the young man pulls out a wad of bills and demands the zombie clean its plate because it paid for the equivalent of 2 meals. Completely in shock at the scene of financial madness in the middle of the end of the world, the star's soul simply leaves her body at the absurdity of the situation. Mangshu, in the midst of the horde, asks his customers if the food was good. Turning to the girl, he shows her the zombie's wallet and offers a 20% off coupon for her next purchase since she's a celebrity. Inside the car, the MC Stinger presses a mysterious button on the dashboard. The singer is startled by the noise and wonders what he just pressed. A close-up on Mangshu's eyes reveals his calm and total focus. The car accelerates abruptly, leaving the crowd of undead eating dust. The vehicle now travels down a deserted and destroyed city street. Beside him, Zhang Xiaochu watches him and thinks about how handsome he is. Suddenly, something huge falls from the sky, blocking their path. The camera focuses on the leftover steaks inside the cooler. The juicy meat is still there, intact. Tired, our MC sighs and says her only job is to help him carry the experimental equipment. 2027. Confused, she comments that Mr. Meng seems to be in high spirits. The car stops suddenly. Before them, a giant zombie elephant blocks the passage, and Jane Xiaochu comments that some German guy named Paul would love this. Mangshu, still in the car, wonders what the heck that thing is. Without warning, the animal's trunk smashes a nearby car as if it were made of paper. He immediately tells them to get out of the vehicle. Pointing at the creature, Jian Xiaochu screams in terror that it's a zombie elephant. The colossal creature reveals itself completely, with metal plates and glowing red eyes. Our MC leaps out of the car, narrowly escaping being crushed. The system panel appears with a new mission: take down the mutant zombie elephant for unknown rewards. Mangshu deduces that if the rewards are a mystery, they must be very good. The monster charges with full fury in his direction. With agility, the guy vaults over a car to gain momentum. He then launches himself in a powerful leap towards the creature's head. The elephant reacts by swinging its trunk to intercept the attack. In mid-air, Mangshu dodges the deadly blow. He lands a devastating kick right on the monster's head, cracking its armor. The force of the impact is so great that it shatters the asphalt under the elephant's feet. After the blow, Mangshu lands safely, facing the stunned animal. He clicks his tongue, clearly unsatisfied with the result. The elephant, recovered and furious, roars and launches another devastating attack. Our hero draws his pistol, preparing for the confrontation. The bullets ricochet off the creature's thick hide, causing no damage. Mangshu notes that the zombie's skin is as hard as steel, and his regular bullets are useless. From inside the car, Zhang Xiaochu panics, screaming that he's going to be trampled and they need to run, but Mangshu replies that he asked for it and he got it. He then floors it and dodges the beast's attack. The creature then starts chasing the vehicle. And during the escape, the MC showed not a single ounce of fear. Little by little, they gained distance, leaving the zombie elephant eating dust. Terrified, she wonders when he's going to get her out of there. The scene cuts to the facade of a modern and imposing building. The luxury car is parked in front of their final destination. A giant zombie dog snarls fiercely, guarding the entrance. Mengshu walks with Zhang Xiaochu and scolds the animal, telling it to ease up on the watch. The woman, surprised, asks if that's a guard dog. Shen Zhaozhao runs to greet them, calling Mengshu president and thanking him profusely for the supplies. The MC greets her back. At that moment, Yishuo recognizes the celebrity and is shocked, saying she's a huge fan and that it's unbelievable it's really her. Zhang Lumping approaches with coffee, saying the boss must be tired, but warns that there's no more sugar or cream. The group gathers in the company's conference room. Mengshu leans on the table and says it's no problem. Worried, Shou Chao clarifies that she's not blaming him, but that the food supplies will only last for another half a month. She shows the empty inventory on a tablet. Jiang Xiaochu observes everything and thinks the place looks nice and professional. The boss reassures everyone, stating they don't need to worry about food and that he spent the last few days out recruiting new employees and expanding the business. Impressed, Zhang Limping praises the boss's foresight and asks what kind of talent he managed to recruit this time. Ming Shu says that since it's not safe outside, he picked up another mouth to feed on the way. The boss continues, explaining that the new recruit isn't very capable, but is loyal and a good listener. Elsewhere, a figure in a lab coat analyzes a report and asks about a human translator, while a woman beside him says she can barely even classify herself. Back in the room, Shen Zhaozhao gets annoyed, declaring that their last line of defense has been breached. Ignoring the concern, Meng Shu announces that he's already thought of a position for the new hire, director of the pet department. He then instructs Zhang Lumping to prepare a contract with a monthly salary of 3 steamed buns, 5 sausages, and social security. Lunping agrees enthusiastically, and the boss adds that since the new director probably doesn't know how to write, he can sign the contract with a paw print. The employee remains enthusiastic about the idea. Changing the subject, Meng Shu informs them that he has a second matter to discuss, a new task from the higher-ups. He reveals that the mission is to retrieve a big shot with the involvement of the military's top brass and expresses his admiration for the situation. He then shows a photo of a man. Zhang Lunping is shocked to recognize the face in the photograph. Jiang Xiaochu recognizes him too, saying she's seen him on TV and that he's a national treasure-level scientist. Shen Zhaozhao turns and calls for the secretary. While talking with the new employee, Meng Shu warns that the party budget isn't very big since the company is just starting out and promises to transfer 30 million to her. The singer is completely shocked and retorts that the amount is absurdly high. With a smile on his face, the MC holds up his hand, confirming the 30 million and spouting a bunch of canned phrases wishing happiness and health. A drop of sweat runs down the girl's face as she tries to process this corporate craziness. Settled on the sofa with her legs crossed, the celebrity reflects on how she seems to have been born perfectly for the role of a secretary. The boss tells her not to worry about anything other than organizing the party and ensuring at least 10 minutes of singing at the event. Surprised by the simplicity of the request, she lets out a confused murmur. With a slightly bolder look, the woman asks if Mr. Meng will make a point of seeing her sing. Opening the office windows, the guy replies that he might not be able to make it back in time because he plans to clear 2 entire streets of zombies that afternoon. With a confident expression, he changes the subject, asking what song she'd like to hear since he can sing anything about courage. Excited by the conversation, the artist clenches her fists and promises to give her best performance. Meng Zhu instructs the recruit to make preparations with Zhang Qin and offers her his own office on the top floor if she doesn't want to share the dorm with the others. In a farewell tone, the MC waves and leaves, reflecting on how the zombie employees of the first business division really carried the company on their backs. The camera cuts to the imposing glass tower of peace and order, rising amidst the post-apocalyptic landscape. The sun reflects off the windows of the main entrance, which is surrounded by a few shrubs that survived the chaos. Walking through the lobby with his assistants, the director announces the start of the work shift. Standing next to the mutant dog, he shouts the order for all zombie employees to assemble immediately. In response to the corporate leader's call, the team of undead frantically leaps out of the building. In the front garden, Zhang Lunping waters the soil, grumbling that the pea shooter should have sprouted by now, and that he's only doing this so the boss sees his effort. At that exact moment, a blonde guy approaches stealthily, catching the employee's attention. Without putting down the watering can, Lumping asks who the stranger is and makes it clear that this place is the headquarters of peace and order. Showing a bag full of bread, the stranger introduces himself as Zhang Yumo and asks if he can join the group, since he brought his own provisions. The electrician tells him to wait until he's done watering to take him for an interview with the president, just in time for the company's annual party. Considering it all insanity, the newcomer questions why someone is tending to plants in the middle of the apocalypse. With a proud smile, the subordinate explains that those are extremely valuable pea shooters for fighting the monsters. A close-up on the visitor's face reveals his silent conclusion that the watering man has serious mental issues. To hide his real intentions, the stranger forces a cynical smile, offering to help with the flowers, and has his offer promptly refused. The intruder's gaze darkens as he mentally vows not to let this idiot steal his credit. Firm footsteps echo on the pavement, announcing the arrival of someone important. Turning his face towards the sound, Lumping breaks into a huge smile and greets the president enthusiastically. With a gesture towards the blonde guy, Lumping formally introduces the job candidate to his boss. Completely panicked, the stranger stammers in terror as he comes face to face with the pack of zombies accompanying the MC. The system scans the target, revealing a list of criminal professions, and Mengzhu quickly realizes they both serve the same obscure temple. An insane laugh takes over Yumo's thoughts as he realizes the man before him has 5 terrifying classes and not a single normal person on his team. To play along, our MC claims to be a believer marching to become one of the chosen and suggests the guy call his companions. With a wicked smile on his face, the company director encourages the intruder to bring the rest of his group. Certain he was safe, the blonde guy fires a flare straight into the air. The red light explodes in the post-apocalyptic sky, marking the exact location for everyone around. Without wasting time, the entrepreneur adjusts his coat collar and orders the sanitation and cleaning department to take action. The horde of rotting employees charges with total ferocity into the surrounding streets. Dazzled by the display of power, the newcomer begs to become one of the chosen and gives up the location of all the other pastors in the cult. Having extracted all the information he needed, Mengzhu points his pistol directly at the back of the talkative man's head, thanking him for the data. The gunshot echoes as the bullet passes through Yumo's skull, who passes on without understanding the sudden betrayal. With his gun still smoking beside his fierce guard dog, the MC coldly observes the result of his aggressive recruitment. After tearing apart the newly arrived enemies, the leader celebrates the 2 takedowns in 10 seconds as the true culture of efficiency at his company. Right after blowing the smoke from the gun barrel, our MC decrees the hiring of the 2 new zombies as interns with a nice, fictitious salary. A system panel confirms the immediate entry of the fresh corpses into the security department. Fascinated by the firearm, Lumping asks about the item, and the boss bald-faced lies, saying he found it on the side of the road. The suck-up employee vibrates with excitement at the promise of getting a tool like that in the future. With his focus back on business, the director orders the team to advance and retake the entire commercial district. The heavy sign of a roasted chicken shop crashes to the ground amidst the chaos of the urban battle. Jiang Xiaoju demonstrates her strength by crushing an infected skull with a brutal punch. Further ahead, manager Li Xiang relentlessly beats an undead against the destroyed asphalt. Crossing the entrance with his dog, Mengzhu demands an impeccable cleaning of the place so they can evolve from a simple street stall to a real store. A deafening explosion raises a cloud of dust on the facade of the adjacent establishment. Facing a bald, muscular mutant, the president scolds the monster for trying to cut the line. With his firefighter's axe in hand and a confident smile, he announces he will handle the service personally since the customer has no manners. The big guy leaps with his claws ready for the finish, while the guide gently promises to chop off that inconvenient hand. The spinning motion of the axe tears through the air, leaving a trail of blood across the entire swing. With an impeccable posture after the attack, the entrepreneur finishes the job, slicing the enemy without the slightest difficulty. A victorious laugh escapes Mengzhu's lips as a shiny red evolution core pops out of the remains of the newly slain monster. Holding the crystal with his bloodied hand, the corporate boss informs his team that the bonus will be given to whoever works the hardest during the sector cleanup.